Chapter 406. Lin Feng froze. His hands were still controlling the giant fireball, but his eyes were looking forward. He hadn't misheard. The one who spoke just now was, "It's me, I surrender." The wood spirit, who was already half dead from the fireball, bent its trunk, and the remaining branches all leaned forward, kneeling with both hands on the ground. Looking at the scene in front of him, Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. "Let me go, hero." The wood spirit's voice sounded very humble, but in Lin Feng's ears, it sounded like a scoundrel. If it couldn't win, it surrendered. Wasn't this wood spirit a little too spineless? "Give me a reason why I should let you go." Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he slowly spoke. The fireball was still shining brightly. Lin Feng clearly didn't plan on letting the wood spirit go. What good would it do him to let it go? "I can cure the little beauty's poison," the wood spirit said sincerely. "I can kill you all the same," Lin Feng said calmly. Everything had its vanquisher. These black beetles came from the wood spirit, so it must have a way to cure them. Sure enough, the wood spirit hesitated. In the moment of hesitation, Lin Feng's heart settled. No matter what the result was, curing the poison in Xian'er's body wasn't a big problem. Just as he expected, there must be an antidote on this strange devil's snare flower. "Hero, the heavens are virtuous," the wood spirit said righteously. "BZZ, BZZ." Lin Feng didn't say anything. He just kept increasing the intensity of the fireball in his hand, forming a fierce arc of electricity. All of a sudden, the entire cave became oppressive and tense, with swords drawn and bows drawn. "Use action to answer." "Stop, stop." The wood spirit anxiously gestured. Although there were less than 10 branches left, they didn't slow down at all. "Hero, even if you don't give the monk face, at least give the Buddha face. I helped you create an opportunity back then. Cough, cough. Didn't you enjoy it?" The wood spirit's voice was strange. When Lin Feng heard it, his eyes darkened. It was obvious that the wood spirit had been watching his every move back then. When he recalled everything he'd done to Xian'er at that time, Lin Feng's face instantly flushed red, and he felt a wave of deep guilt. The instigator, it was this rather wretched wood spirit. "Are you done?" Lin Feng asked slowly. The wood spirit was stunned, unable to react. Suddenly, boom, the fireball was scorching hot, instantly boiling the entire cave. "If you're done, then go die." Lin Feng's expression was unreadable, without the slightest bit of pity. He didn't have the time to waste with this wood spirit. The earlier he killed it, the earlier he could resolve this matter. Rip! Astonishing energy fluctuations suddenly erupted. Lin Feng didn't give the wood spirit any chance to resist. It didn't matter if it was truly begging for mercy or not. Right now, it was time to end everything. "No, don't!" The wood spirit screamed hysterically, its branches dancing wildly, like a person who couldn't swim falling into the water. Seeing the fireball fly up like a huge meteor, the wood spirit screamed crazily, "Surrender, hero! I'm willing to surrender." The remaining branches completely blocked in front of the main trunk, trembling. Bang! The fireball sped forward. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. The moment the wood spirit screamed out its last sentence, he suddenly raised his hand and pressed down violently. In an instant, the fireball landed on the ground ahead of time, like a huge red cloud exploding, causing the entire cave to shake violently like an earthquake, and gravel scattered everywhere. It was a mess, and dust filled the air. Cough, cough. This wood spirit was very humane. It escaped a calamity. "How do you want to surrender? Tell me." Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and he was interested. A wood spirit above star C level 5. If he could make it surrender, it would be of great help to him. At the very least, when he wasn't strong enough, it could protect him. The wood spirit didn't seem to be very willing, and its tiny branches kept rubbing. However, at this moment, an inexplicably powerful fire energy gathered in the cave again, scaring the wood spirit. "No, no, no. Stop playing hero. I'll give you 10 seconds. Lin Feng's expression was calm, and a cluster of flames in his right hand moved with the wind. 10, 9, 8. Lin Feng didn't want to waste time with this cunning wood spirit. It was good that it could surrender, but if it wanted to scheme against him, it was too naive. I'll talk. The wood spirit said in fear. Use blood as a guide. Divide a part of your soul power and refine the wood spirit heart. After refining, I'll become your spirit at your command. The wood spirit's voice was weak, and it seemed very depressed. Indeed, once it was refined, it would lose its freedom from then on. The worst thing was that the strength of this human warrior was far inferior to it. How do I refine it? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The wood spirit was stunned, and it seemed to be thinking of something, but it heard Lin Feng's countdown. 4, 3, 2, stop. Hero. The wood spirit was speechless, and it felt that it was really like a tiger being bullied by a dog. Not only was it bullied and sold, but it was also forced to sleep with him. This human was too hateful, but the current situation wasn't something it could decide. I'll talk. The wood spirit felt wronged. He was indeed suffering in silence, unable to voice out his bitterness. Under the wood spirit's guidance, Lin Feng quickly grasped the method. Previously, in the Black Mist Dragon Valley, he had signed a contract with a magical beast, and it was a little similar. However, the refinement of the wood spirit heart was even more domineering. If the relationship between him and the puppet was like that of a master and servant, then refining the wood spirit heart would be like that of a master and a slave. Complete control, including life and death. As long as he willed it, he could directly turn the wood spirit into ashes, because that was the most fundamental thing to do. The wood spirit heart was equivalent to a human soul. If the soul was shattered, how could it survive? Let's begin. Don't waste time, Lin Feng said. Yes. Although the wood spirit was unwilling, it couldn't make the decision. At this moment, it was like a wronged little wife. Miserable. However, if it wanted to live, this was the only way. The winner was king. Hua, a bright and resplendent wood spirit heart, was instantly exposed in front of Lin Feng. Staring at this meatball-like existence, Lin Feng's eyes slowly brightened. This was the first time he saw the true appearance of the wood spirit heart. It was somewhat similar to a human soul, and this was the most important and only essence of the wood spirit. Hero, because your strength, the wood spirit hesitated and said, is slightly weaker than mine, so the refining time might be a little longer. It was very tactful, but when Lin Feng heard it, he couldn't help but smile. This wood spirit was very careful, as if it was afraid of angering him, or if it couldn't refine it later, it was afraid that he wouldn't have the patience. Therefore, it notified him in advance, just in case. Timid and cunning. What a strange wood spirit. Lin Feng smiled. I know what I'm doing, Lin Feng said slowly, calming the wood spirit's heart. In an instant, a cold light flashed and fresh blood dripped. Lin Feng's eyes were extremely bright, and he muttered to himself. The fluctuations of his life-spirit state produced rapid energy, and the phoenix life plate shone brightly. As the blood dripped and merged, the red and green light instantly became incomparably bright. Lin Feng's hands tightly wrapped around the trembling wood spirit heart, and the power of his life spirit continuously seeped into it. At this moment, many memories inexplicably appeared in his mind. From the birth of this wood spirit until now, everything was replaying in his mind. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The existence of this wood spirit was completely out of his expectations. This place was originally not barren, and not even a blade of grass grew. As for this wood spirit, it even had a very pleasant name, Byflower. It was as if it wanted to fly together. Its original appearance wasn't like this. The red and green light symbolized the beauty of lovers. In this chaotic swamp, this place was like a paradise. Many byflowers bloomed, and their fragrance assailed the nose. However, everything had changed ever since the swamp rebellion. The muddy and dirty swamp poured into this small cave, bringing not only a rotten smell and acid, but also many unknown and terrifying existences. It was as if the land had been poisoned. Countless byflowers slowly withered after the swamp riot. Survival of the fittest. In the end, only 10 bai flowers survived. Their appearance had completely changed, and they were extremely similar to their current appearance. The fragrance became charming, and the red and green light also became coquettish. It seemed to be evolving, but also like a mutation. Everything was different now. The most shocking thing was the changes at the roots. Holes appeared one after another, as if they were mini caves. Numerous branches grew out with tiny flower buds. After a long period of nurturing, these poisonous beetles were born. Fight and survive. What changed was not only the wood spirit's appearance, but even its heart had changed. In this land, the last one to survive, only the strongest, and this wood spirit had the last laugh. This was nature's selection of the strong and the weak, a selection of the strong. Lin Feng's eyes slowly brightened. His impression of this wood spirit had changed. Cowardice and cunning were not innate. Regardless of the process, the quality and tenacity of this wood spirit were definitely the type that he was very satisfied with. Tenacious and indomitable. Like a tenacious weed, it worked hard to survive. Until a devouring. It devoured the same thing as Xian'er. This wood spirit devoured a human martial artist. The devouring this time brought about the most fundamental change to this wood spirit, a change that all wood spirits yearn for even in their dreams, the appearance of intelligence. Next chapter 000, the day of the big promotion is getting closer and closer. I'm a little excited. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come Achidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 407. Humans, after being born, would change according to the environment. A pair of twin brothers, growing up in different environments, would have different personalities. The birth and maturity of intelligence would change according to various factors. Wood spirits were the same. Plants could absorb the essence of heaven and earth, blossom and bear fruit, following the will of the heavens to bear immortal fruits and reproduce. Or they could go against the will of the heavens and become wood spirits. Unlike demonic beasts, the awakening of intelligence of wood spirits was very slow. No, it should be said that it was very slow. After transforming, demonic beasts would reach the Star River level, and their intelligence would definitely be fully mature. But plants could only be called wood spirits after absorbing the essence of heaven and earth and reaching the Star River level. Only a very small number of wood spirits would have intelligence at the Star River level. Even if it was just the intelligence of a child, the chances were less than 1 in 10,000. In fact, there were very few Star River level wood spirits with intelligence. Only those who reached the Star Lord level could truly be called wood spirits. Only then would they truly awaken their intelligence. But this wood spirit was special. Its awakening of intelligence wasn't naturally formed, but through devouring. Other than the rare Nepenthes and man-eating flowers, most wood spirits couldn't awaken their intelligence through devouring. In fact, wood spirits weren't so cruel. Mutation, Lin Feng thought to himself. Wood spirits were the most united existence. Even if they were of different species, they would still get along very well. In the forest, once a wood spirit was hurt, the other wood spirits would swarm over and fight to the death. This was also why wood spirits could survive, because they were the most united race. But this wood spirit was completely different. From the moment it mutated, it was the winner and the loser. In the end, it killed the other 9 winged flowers and survived. From a certain point of view, it was more like how demonic beasts lived. What a pity. Lin Feng sighed. The human martial artist that the wood spirit devoured was a cowardly and cunning martial artist. This also caused the wood spirit's awakening to become like this. Although it wasn't 100% similar, it was deeply affected. But there were 2 sides to a knife. Many things were two-sided. This wood spirit was cowardly and afraid of death. But because of this, it surrendered. This kind of thing, how can an ordinary wood spirit do this? Lin Feng read and couldn't help but smile. It could also be considered as a form of heaven's will. He had taken advantage of her. No wonder it knows the language of the Douling world. No wonder he knows so many human customs. Lin Feng felt a little amused. Thinking back to what this wood spirit had just said, it had actually asked him, "Didn't you enjoy it quite a bit?" The way he spoke was exactly like a local ruffian. Interesting. Lin Feng smiled faintly. At this time, the refinement was nearing its end, and Lin Feng could faintly feel a strange, scorching aura. Although his strength remained at the 7th level of the Star River realm, his fate spirit had fused with the Yang Fate Star Plate and had long reached the Star Sea realm. Oh, the wood spirit was also surprised. He didn't expect his wood spirit heart to be refined so quickly. According to his power level, he was almost a level higher than this human. Logically speaking, it would take at least a few hours for the refinement to be completed. But now, in less than half an incense stick's worth of time, he was almost done. That's true. How could he not have some skills if he could defeat me? The wood spirit thought to itself, a thoughtful look on its face. Thinking about it, regardless of whether this human was strong or weak, everything was already destined. How sad. I won't have freedom in the future. The wood spirit felt a little disappointed. But what could he do? If he didn't submit, only death awaited him. The refinement soon came to an end. Intense heaven and earth energy wrapped around his body, and Lin Feng's eyes were extremely bright. In an instant, as the last bit of soul power poured in, there was a loud bang in his mind, and his fate spirit trembled slightly. The wood spirit in front of him instantly disappeared, as if it had turned into a bubble. The Phoenix Fate Star Plate shone brightly, and the huge flaming star appeared in front of him. Why am I here? Lin Feng was a little surprised. Logically speaking, after successfully refining and fusing with the wood spirit heart under normal circumstances, his current location, it should be the Soul Sea. But now, I almost forgot. My fate spirit has already mutated. Lin Feng suddenly realized. Although he had the Soul Sea, because of the starry sky, pupils' deep sleep, it was like an ownerless land. The original fate spirit had completely changed after fusing with the Phoenix Fate Star Plate. Sea of Soul, celestial body of flame, Lin Feng murmured. Instantly, his eyes lit up. Lin Feng suddenly realized, so this celestial body of flame is actually my Sea of Soul. No wonder, no wonder. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. In an instant, many of his doubts were resolved. He was completely clear. At this moment, he could feel the presence of the wood spirit in his body. It was like living in a mustard seed. The feeling was extremely clear. The wood spirit seemed to be much happier than he imagined. Wow, boss, your place is so big. Such abundant spirit chi. Cultivating here, I have hope of breaking through to the Star Sea level. The wood spirit's cheerful voice sounded in his mind, but it made Lin Feng's eyes light up. Break through to the Star Sea level? Although this wood spirit's personality was not complimentary, his strength was first class. Star Sea level 6 was not a joke. He had spent a tremendous amount of effort to barely win, but it was also a trick. If they really fought head-on, he would definitely lose. Even though the wood spirit was extremely difficult to cultivate, it was worth the effort. Compared to the shaman tribe, who had great potential, the wood spirit was not inferior at all. Especially in defense and life recovery, the wood spirit was the strongest of the strong. Once it broke through to the Star Sea level, it would become a Star Lord. At that time, he would have one more trump card. Right, what's your name? Lin Feng asked. In the future, they would be comrades. He would not treat this wood spirit as a slave. The wood spirit was stunned. The wood spirit reacted and couldn't help but say, I don't know. Boss, the human seemed to call himself Brother Jia. Brother Jia? Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Could it be that he would also call this wood spirit in the future? That would be too awkward. Since your previous life was Bai Hua, I'll call you from now on. Lin Feng said. The wood spirit said, not bad, I like this name. Then it's decided, boss. He said happily. Okay. Lin Feng smiled. He would have one more comrade in the future. An unbreakable relationship was beneficial to him. A cosmic sea state level 6 fighter. Tisk. Lin Feng's lips curled up. He was quite satisfied. After entering the chaotic swamp, perhaps he was his greatest gain. It was like adding wings to a tiger. Outside the cave, Sitting on the urgent fire shuttle, Wei Xian kept poking her head out, waiting anxiously. Lin Feng had been in for a long time. There were a few big tremors just now. Linda Go must be in danger. Wei Xian pursed her lips, her eyes full of worry. She looked at her legs. They were still numb and couldn't move at all. Wei Xian's heart was tightly twisted. She blamed herself deeply. It was all because of her that Linda Go went into danger and risked his life to find the antidote for her. Not only was she unable to help Linda Go, but she was also a burden to him. I'm sorry, Linda Go. Wei Xian bit her lips. After this battle, she finally understood how weak and useless she was. Without Linda Go, she would probably be dead in the wilderness. A person would only become mature after experiencing it. Xianer will definitely work hard. Next time, I definitely won't be Linda G's burden. Wei Xian's beautiful eyes flickered as she kept saying to herself. All along, she had been like a little princess. She had her father's love at home and her uncle's love at Fengyang Valley. He had never tasted any hardships, nor had he ever walked a dangerous path. But actually, this wasn't a good thing. Only now did Wei Xian deeply understand and wake up. Linda Go, please don't let anything happen to you. Wei Xian's tears kept welling up. If anything happened to Lin Feng, she would really be disheartened. Linda Go, if something really happens to you, Xianer will definitely come down to accompany you. I won't let you be lonely. What nonsense are you talking about? A teasing voice came from the dark cave. With his upper body naked, Lin Feng flashed like a whirlwind and instantly appeared in front of Xianer. Looking at that familiar face, he couldn't help but chuckle. Linda Go. Wei Xian's eyes were slightly moist. It's great that you're fine. Silly girl. Lin Feng gently rubbed Wei Xian's little head. He took out a few stalks and leaves and gently placed them in Xianer's mouth. It doesn't taste good. Chew it and swallow it. The poison in your body will be removed very quickly. Wei Xian's eyes instantly lit up, and she nodded repeatedly. Although these stalks and leaves were bitter, they weren't hard to swallow. Very quickly, a cool aura spread out from her heart and lungs, spreading to every part of her body. Lin Feng looked at Xianer's legs and saw that the skin on her legs was peeling off piece by piece. The new skin was shining brightly. Xianer's complexion became better and better, rosy and shiny. The crisis was finally over. It's all right. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Thank you, Linda Go. Xianer smiled sweetly. Their eyes met. After this battle, the relationship between the two of them had taken another step forward, and even more, it added a bit of ambiguity. Qi Yang and Qi Yu are probably dying from waiting, Lin Feng suddenly said. Xianer was shocked. Looking at Lin Feng's naked upper body and the clothes she was wearing, her face instantly turned red to her neck. She was so shy that she couldn't raise her head. If Qi Yang and Qi Yu saw this, who knew what they would think? Lin Feng smiled. How could he not know what Xianer was thinking? However, he would have to face it sooner or later. Let's go. Lin Feng smiled faintly and walked away slowly. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 408. When Lin Feng and Wei Xian appeared, as expected, Qi Yang and Qi Yu were shocked. Oh, Qi Yang howled. You! Qi Yu was shocked, looking at Wei Xian with mixed emotions. Xianer looked as if she had confessed without being pressed, and her face was as red as a big apple. Wearing Lin Feng's black clothes, Xianer was still sitting on the fire shuttle, but her face was almost buried in her chest. She didn't dare to look at Qi Yang and Qi Yu. How could one's imagination not run wild with such an expression? Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. We encountered some danger. Xianer was poisoned. Poisoned? Qi Yang and Qi Yu were shocked. They looked at Xianer, but she didn't look poisoned at all. When they looked down and saw Xianer's bare feet, Qi Yang and Qi Yu were shocked. Although Xianer's poison had been removed, the new skin on her legs was still eye-catching. Xianer, are you okay? Qi Yu asked with concern. What did you encounter? Qi Yang frowned. A type of poisonous insect. Xian'er pursed her lips as she spoke. However, the scene of Big Brother Lin treating her surfaced in her mind. She recalled the scene of their skin touching and Big Brother Lin kissing her. Although she felt shy, she was secretly delighted in her heart. At least Lin Gu had feelings for her. It's nothing. Lin Feng smiled. It's all in the past. There were some things that Lin Feng didn't want Qi Yang and Qi Yu to know. No matter what, this incident would affect Xian'er's reputation. We've wasted too much time. Let's go. Brother Wang and Li Ming haven't been found yet. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Qi Yang and Qi Yu immediately agreed. No matter what, they were lucky that Xian'er was found safely. As for the rest, why should they know? The chaotic swamp was huge. It wasn't easy to find a person. Leading the group, Lin Feng combed through the entire chaotic swamp. He was extremely careful. His life spirit's senses did not miss a single corner or gap. As the area expanded, the danger level also increased. However, he still couldn't find Wang Feng and Li Ming. Sure enough, there isn't any, Lin Feng said in a deep voice. When he was looking for Xian'er, he already had a bad premonition. At that time, they had already searched a large area, but they still couldn't find any trace of Wang Feng and Li Ming. Logically speaking, my two senior brothers shouldn't have run so far. Qi frowned slightly. Senior brother's life-saving ability should be stronger than all of us. Qi was also puzzled. But there are too many accidents here. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Even he had been tricked in that cave. What wouldn't happen? After all, this was the depths of the chaotic swamp. Many times, many things did not change according to one's will. It would be out of control. Lindigo means... Xian'er asked curiously. Everyone looked at him. Lin Feng nodded slightly. His eyes flashed fiercely. He said in a deep voice, although I don't want to admit it, it is very likely that Brother Wang and Li Ming have met with an accident. Perhaps they're dead. His voice was very light, but there was a hint of heaviness in it. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Fenyang Valley, martial arts training ground. When Li Ming appeared with his face covered in blood, everyone was stunned. Senior Brother Li, what happened to you? Senior Brother Li, what happened? All the disciples in the martial arts training ground gathered. They felt that Li Ming's qi was weak and he was seriously injured. They were very worried. Li Ming was the pride of Fenyang Valley. Among the 3 peak galaxy-level cultivators of this generation, Li Ming was undoubtedly the strongest. The annual elite martial arts competition was around the corner. If Li Ming was injured, the situation in Fenyang Valley was worrying. Quick, call the elders. Quick, Senior Brotherly can't hold on any longer. Everyone was talking at once. They were very nervous. Li Ming's eyes were half open, tired, but he was very happy. This was the effect he wanted. Although this city return talisman is worth a lot of money, but it is worth it. Li Ming's eyes lit up. The city return talisman was difficult to buy even if you had money. It was his reward from the last elite martial arts competition. It only needed 5 seconds to return a green smoke city from anywhere. Of course, there was a distance limit to any place. However, he could use it in the chaotic swamp. The Bodhi flower, a 4-star immortal fruit, is more than enough to offset the value of the city return talisman. Not to mention the countless 3-colored wolf's tail grass and the crystallized corpses of the strange beasts. I have earned enough this time. Most importantly, I'm back safely. He thought of Lin Feng and the others who were still in the depths of the chaotic swamp. Perhaps they had already been torn to pieces by the Gomang shaman tribe. Li Ming could not help but sneer. Who cared if they were dead or alive? With enough Dolan coins, he could focus on breaking through to the Star Sea level. Once he reached the Star Sea level and achieved a good result in the elite martial arts competition, he would replace Wang Feng as the true successor of the sect leader. Wang Feng, don't blame me. Blame yourself for being stupid. A sharp light flashed in Li Ming's eyes. He groaned in pain. If you want to put on an act, you have to go all the way. Weak people were always pitiful. Let's go, Wang Feng. Li Ming opened his eyes as if he was in a dream. He looked at the crowd and opened his mouth in shock. I'm not dead yet. Everyone started whispering to each other and discussing spiritedly. Senior Brotherly, you're not dead. Hang in there, Senior Brother Li. The elders are coming. What happened? Where are Senior Brother Li, Senior Brother Wang, and Senior Brother Qi? Everyone was worried and confused. Wang Feng and Li Ming had led the team to the chaotic swamp. In the end, he was the only one who came back. They were all killed by Lin Feng. That murderer! Li Ming gritted his teeth and said sadly. Hua! Everyone was in an uproar. Their faces were filled with disbelief and indescribable astonishment. No one thought that the answer would be like this. It was like a bolt from the blue. We went deep into the chaotic swamp and found a 4-star immortal fruit. At that time, Lin Feng's ambition was exposed. Li Ming's voice was heavy with grief. Halfway through his words, he covered his chest with his hand and spat out a mouthful of blood. He then fainted. There was no need to make up a story. As long as there was a beginning, then everyone would talk about it, and it would be completed perfectly. Lin Feng, even if you have the ability to escape, let's see how you can clear your name. Li Ming sneered in his heart. First impressions were the strongest. Many things would spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. Even if it was fake, it would become true. Moreover, the dead told no tales. Lin Feng would not be able to clear his name. In Li Ming's opinion, Lin Feng might have a chance to escape, but the others, did they have the ability to do so? In the depths of the chaotic swamp, after searching for 2 hours, Lin Feng even killed 3 exotic beasts. However, he still could not find Wang Feng and Li Ming. It was as if they had suddenly disappeared. We can't expand the search circle. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The bigger the search circle, the more danger they would be in, especially Qi Yang, Qi Yu, and the others. In this dangerous chaotic swamp, if something unexpected happened, he might not be able to protect them. Most importantly, at this moment, the ominous premonition in his heart was growing heavier and heavier. Danger. It was not an alarmist. The last time he had sensed danger, he had encountered 10 Gomang shamans. Now, his intuition was telling him that the danger was even worse. Senior and the others. Qi Yu lowered her head and bit her lip. It bodes ill rather than well. Qi Yang sighed softly and said what his sister had not said. Many things are destined, Lin Feng said softly, comforting everyone. Warriors walked on the edge of the cliff of life and death. Death was always so close. In this chaotic swamp, which was full of dangers, anything could happen. Even someone as strong as him was in danger a few times, let alone Brother Wang and Li Ming. Here, they were just lowly existences. Wing alone could easily kill them. Wait. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He could not find Brother Wang and Li Ming, but Wing was born and raised here. He was a level 6-star sea-state being. Maybe what could he do? Lin Feng's heart jolted as he called out softly. What's your order, boss? Wing said casually. He seemed to be in a good mood. Help me find 2 people. Lin Feng's eyes shone. Oh, soon. Lin Feng told him the whole story. That's not a problem, boss. Wing said casually, but then he sighed. Unfortunately, I'm not even at 1% of my strength. The efficiency might be slower. Lin Feng nodded. After a huge battle with Lin Feng, he was almost completely drained. Although he had refined the wood spirit heart and controlled it, it did not mean that Wing's injuries could be healed. He needed time to recover. How long will it take? Lin Feng frowned. He did not feel good. After all, this place was full of danger. If he stayed for 1 or 2 more days, who knew what would happen? Wing pondered and said, about 15 minutes to an hour. Huh? Lin Feng was stunned. That little time is enough? Of course, Wing said confidently. If the number of winged insects did not decrease, it would not take so long. In less than half an hour, with this place as the center, any movement within 10 miles will not escape my senses. The winged insects were the armored venomous insects. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He suddenly understood. Indeed, if he used the endless number of winged insects to explore, the efficiency would naturally be high. All right. A tiny red and green light shone between Lin Feng's eyebrows, bringing with it a wave of energy. Xian Air, Qi Yang, and Qi Yu were shocked. Before they could react, they suddenly saw a bright red, tall plant that looked like a devil's snare flower. It was more than 10 meters tall. It appeared out of nowhere and swayed gracefully. Hua! Qi Yang and Qi Yu's expressions changed instantly, as if they were facing a great enemy. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 409. Only Xian Er's beautiful eyes changed slightly. She smelled a familiar fragrance, as well as it was a weak red-green glow. Linda Gu, this is, Xian Er said in surprise. Wood Spirit Wing. Lin Feng smiled as he looked at the nervous Qi Yang and Qi Yu. Don't worry, he's my companion. He won't hurt anyone. His life spirit had complete control over Wing. His every move was within his control. Suddenly, Hua! Wing's branches spread out in the sky. There were less than 10 branches left. The black-winged bug drilled out of the flower bud and directly entered the mud. Even in the bud, there were many winged bugs. They were densely packed and uncountable. The two girls were so frightened that their faces turned pale, especially Qi Yu. She was so scared that she immediately levitated in the air, her eyes filled with fear. Hiss! Lin Feng's mind suddenly swelled. He could see the winged bug's vision clearly, as if it had hundreds of pairs of eyes. With him as the center, everything around him was like a map of darkness that suddenly opened up, bright and resplendent. The fog gradually dissipated, and he could see every corner clearly. What a powerful exploration ability. Lin Feng was amazed. If he wanted to find something, it was indeed very convenient. And this was just Wing, who was severely injured. If he was in his complete, peak form, his exploration ability would be even more terrifying. Just thinking about tens of thousands of winged bugs appearing at the same time was terrifying. One had to know that just one winged bug was enough to kill Xian Er. Now, it was as if he had control over an army. A powerful army that could kill galaxy-level existences. No wonder these winged bugs could break through Xian Er's defense. Lin Feng nodded lightly. The existence of the winged bugs had a lot to do with Wing. Obviously, the stronger Wing was, the stronger the winged bugs would be. It was a direct correlation. More and more images appeared in his mind, becoming clearer and clearer. Sharing the vision of hundreds of winged bugs, Lin Feng saw more and more images. And this required an extremely strong brain processing ability. Oh! Lin Feng stood quietly. Beside him, Wing flashed with a faint red and green glow, forming a beautiful and enchanting image. Qi Yang and Qi Yu looked at Lin Feng with respect and curiosity. The more they understood Lin Feng, the more they felt that he was mysterious. He was like a calm lake with ripples. Bottomless. This would spirit Wing smells very similar to the one in the cave. And that red and green glow. Wei Xian's beautiful eyes twinkled. Could it be the wood spirit that was subdued by Lindigo? So powerful. Wei Xian sat on the urgent fire shuttle, gazing at Lin Feng with eyes full of worship. Big Brother Lin seemed to be omnipotent. Any complicated matter could be easily solved in front of him. Could make the impossible impossible. We will definitely find Senior Brother. Wei Xian nodded her head, full of confidence. Because she believed Lin's heart spirit, time passed by second. Lin Feng's eyes kept twinkling as the winged insect expanded its search area. Finally, what is that? Lin Feng's expression changed drastically, and he suddenly exclaimed. The sudden change shocked everyone. Wei Xian was pleasantly surprised. Did you find Lindigo? Lin Feng frowned. His eyes were filled with worry. He slowly clenched his right fist and nodded. Let's go. Without saying anything else, Lin Feng took a step forward. The atmosphere was heavy, with a hint of bleakness. Qi Yang and Qi Yu looked at each other. Their hearts skipped a beat. Looking at Lin Feng's expression, it was obvious that it was not a good thing. Soon, everyone arrived at a familiar area. This is... Qi Yang was startled. Qi Yu covered her mouth. Isn't this where we split up? The location was very close. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He did not expect that after searching for so long, they would return to the starting point. Shifting his body slightly, he passed through a patch of grass. His eyes suddenly widened, and his pupils dilated. Brother Wang, Qi Yang, and Qi Yu were shocked. Wei Xian covered her mouth. Everyone's heart was heavy. Bloody. Brother Wang. Lin Feng pursed his lips and stepped forward. Seeing Wang Feng's corpse with his own eyes was clearer and more realistic than the winged insect. Although he was mentally prepared, he could not help but feel pain in his heart when he saw it. There was some friendship between them. He's dead. Lin Feng's voice was filled with sadness. Everyone was silent and sad, especially Qi Yu and Xian Er. Their tears could not stop falling. Although Wang Feng was not the strongest among the juniors in Windrise Valley, he was the one who treated his juniors the best. The atmosphere was very sad. Sigh. Lin Feng sighed. He could not sense Wang Feng's aura, but it was already very clear. Even if Xian Er was hiding in a secluded cave, he could still sense it. Even if the aura was weak, his life spirit could still sense it clearly. If he could not sense it, there was only one possibility. That was death. Wait. Lin Feng's eyebrows suddenly sank. This was the place where he met the Gomang shaman tribe. How did Brother Wang die? It did not make sense. Lin Feng squatted down, his eyes flickering. Although the swamp was very corrosive, Wang Feng was a peak galaxy-level powerhouse. It was not difficult to keep his corpse intact in a short period of time. Lin Feng brushed his right hand across Wang Feng's body and stopped at the wound on his lower abdomen. His eyes were bright. It was a sword wound. Brother Wang died in the hands of a human warrior. Lin Feng's expression changed. There are other warriors here besides us, and I didn't notice? Lin Feng was shocked. At the same time, Qian also noticed Lin Feng's strange behavior. Following Lin Feng's gaze, his eyes lit up, and he said in shock, "Senior brother, he was killed." Lin Feng said in a low voice. When the answer was revealed, the two women were both dumbfounded. They had always thought that Wang Feng died in an accident. They did not expect the cause of his death to be so strange. Linda, go look. Wei Xian's eyes were sharp as she pointed at Wang Feng's right hand. Everyone's attention was focused on Wang Feng. Lin Feng's eyes lit up when he saw the storage ring on Wang Feng's index finger had mysteriously disappeared. It's a neat wound. It was cut by a sword. Qi Yang said in a low voice with grief and anger. The murderer did it for money? Lin Feng's heart suddenly moved. He seemed to have vaguely understood something. The Bodhi flower, the 4-star immortal fruit. The murderer came prepared. Qi Yang clenched his teeth and said, "That's right. Otherwise, why would they choose Senior Brother Wang and not us?" Qi was also extremely intelligent. But Wei Xian hesitated. If there really was an enemy approaching, how could Lindiga not have sensed it? Qi Yang frowned. The murderer's strength might far surpass Lin Feng's. Qi Yu curled her lips. If they were really that strong, why would they need to be so sneaky? If they knew that we had the Bodhi flower, they could have just snatched it. Qi Yang nodded thoughtfully. His sister's words were true. It was very strange. The atmosphere was rather heavy. Everyone felt a sense of oppression and strangeness. The entire matter seemed simple, but there were many suspicious points. It was difficult to connect them all together. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. Even though they knew its original appearance, it was difficult to piece it together. There was always something missing. Lindiga, do you have a clue? Wei Xian glanced over and saw Lin Feng's sparkling eyes, as if he had understood something. Qi Yang and Qi Yu also turned their heads, extremely curious to know the answer. Lin Feng sighed softly. He did indeed have an answer. However, speak, Lin Feng. Qi Yang seemed to have understood something. That's right, Lindigo. How did Senior Brother die? Qi Yu had a puzzled expression on her face. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he slowly said, "You seem to have forgotten that there's still one person missing here." The two women and one person exclaimed. Qi Yang's expression had already become extremely solemn. Not only did this person know that Wang Feng had the Bodhi flower, the 4-star celestial fruit, but he was also able to get close to us without being discovered. Lin Feng said softly. Although he did not want to admit it, all the evidence showed that his guess was at least 80% likely. Moreover, it was easy for him to kill the weakened Wang Feng. Lin Feng nodded. The answer was already obvious. If they could not even guess this, the two women would really be stupid. Senior brother Li? Qi Yu and Wei Xian exclaimed in unison, their faces filled with surprise. It was Li Ming who did it. Qi Yang suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a low voice, "He's been eyeing the position of sect leader for a long time. He used this opportunity to not only eliminate a strong opponent, but also take the Bodhi flower for himself. Then, he would have all the Dose Spirit coins he needs to break through to the Star Sea grade. It's killing two birds with one stone." Senior brother Li, he wouldn't do that, right? Wei Xian covered her mouth, her face filled with disbelief. We are from the same sect. For benefits, he would even kill his family, let alone his fellow sect members. Qi Yu sighed softly. Xian, you're too naive. You don't know the ugliness of people's hearts. Qi Yu is right, Lin Feng said with a serious face. Li Ming is narrow-minded and extremely jealous. It's very likely that he would do such a thing for his own benefit. After pausing for a while, Lin Feng frowned slightly. The only thing I don't understand is that if he killed Wang Feng, would he have a way to get out of here? This was his biggest problem. If he killed Wang Feng but died in the chaotic swamp, wouldn't it be a waste? With Li Ming's scheming mind, he would not do such a thing. Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. If there was a way out, who would want to stay here? Don't think too much. The situation is very clear. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. He nodded and said, if the murderer is really Li Ming, he must have a way to return to Fengyang Valley. So, if we return to Fengyang Valley and see him, then he is the murderer, Lin Feng said. But what if we don't see him? Wei Xian bit her lips lightly. That's even simpler. It means that he died in the chaotic swamp. Lin Feng's voice was very calm. Indeed, there was no need to think anymore. It was completely clear. I'm close to being banned on the 15th. I'm slowly accumulating my luck at it. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 410. After burying Wang Feng, everyone gradually calmed down. Mortals would grow old, get sick, and die. Similarly, cultivators would face countless dangers and accidents during their cultivation. Every year, countless disciples of the Wind Valley would die in the chaotic mountain. However, they were already used to it. Senior brother, rest in peace, Qi Yang said in a deep voice. We will definitely report this matter to the sect master and let him deal with it impartially. Qi Yu's face was filled with righteous indignation. Wei Xian bit her lips lightly. Her tears couldn't stop falling. She was very sad. Indeed, Wang Feng had quite a good relationship with his fellow disciples. He had a good reputation. Let's go. Lin Feng's voice was slightly hoarse. Brother Wang's spirit in heaven will definitely bless us to walk out of this chaotic swamp and find the murderer. His eyes were filled with determination. Lin Feng's heart was extremely firm. If Wang Feng was really killed by Li Ming, he would definitely not let him go. The people he hated the most were those who betrayed their companions for the sake of profit. They were simply scum. Definitely. Qi was full of confidence. We have even walked through the red swamp. What's the problem? Qiang regained some of his pride and clenched his fists. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Indeed, when they were first blown here by the hurricane, the area where the red and purple swamps intersected was the real danger. Now that they were back in the purple swamp, the danger level was undoubtedly greatly reduced. With his strength, his chances of survival were very high. Close to the purple swamp, Lin Feng was in the lead, Qi Yang was at the back, and the two girls were in the middle. They formed a diamond shape as they walked forward. The density of the spirit Qi in the air was decreasing, but everyone's hearts were much more relaxed. As they walked towards the outer black swamp, the danger level slowly decreased. Although the journey was very long, everyone felt extremely at ease as they looked at Lin Feng's back. With Lin Feng around, there was nothing to worry about. He was like a guardian god. Wing's ability to explore is extremely strong. Unfortunately, he is limited by the area. Lin Feng thought to himself. If Wing wanted to unleash his strength, he had to return to his roots. A fallen leaf would return to its roots, and the roots would come into contact with the soil and earth. It was just like how a person who couldn't swim wouldn't be able to use their full strength in the water. It was the same for with spirits. Whether it was attacking or releasing winged insects, Wing's abilities were limited. If they were to use the winged insects to explore, the wings themselves would not be able to move forward. You still have to rely on yourself, Lin Feng said softly. However, it did not matter. The Fate Soul that had fused with the Yang Fate Star Plate was not the slightest bit inferior to a StarCraft level. Here it was enough. A deep sense of fear. The sense of danger doesn't seem to have weakened at all. What exactly is it? Lin Feng walked at the front, his brows deeply furrowed. Just like before he met the 10 Gomang shamans, there seemed to be something in his body that was warning him. But his life soul sensed nothing. He did not know where the danger came from, nor did he know what this danger was. The future was filled with unknowns. If it's coming, there's no way to avoid it. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he clenched his right hand. Every single time, he was dancing on the edge of a blade. What was there to fear? The journey was long and boring. Apart from the initial nervousness, the two women soon relaxed. In fact, with Lin Feng scouting ahead and Qi Yang stabilizing the rear, the two women, who were slightly weaker, did not have much to do. Lindigo, how did you kill the Gomang shamans? That's right, Lindigo, tell us. Qi Yu and Wei Xian sang together, but Lin Feng could not do anything. With a helpless smile, Lin Feng shrugged. Just like that. I was just a little lucky. It was too tiring to explain one by one. Should he tell the two women that he had the Phoenix Fate Star Plate, lit up the Yang Fate Star Plate, and could control the fire of rebirth? Was that necessary? The women were slightly disappointed, but they also knew that Lin Feng did not want to say it. Apart from the last moment when he killed the first Gomang shaman in the battle with the Green-Brown sect, the two women had seen Lin Feng's strength, but they had never seen it with their own eyes. They only knew that Lin Feng was very strong. He was so strong that he could even kill the Green-Brown sect's Star C grade powerhouse, Old Crane. However, they did not know how strong he was. Is Linda Gu a martial god who cultivates the heart of origin? Wei Xian asked curiously. How is that possible? I saw Linda Gu use energy with my own eyes, Qi Yu said. But when Linda Gu killed Old Crane, he used fire. Wei Xian said in surprise. Really? Are you sure, Xiana? Qi Yu was stunned. How is that possible? The two women chattered along the way, not at all bothered by the loneliness. However, Lin Feng didn't seem to care much about it, so he didn't really care. To him, ensuring everyone's safety was the most important thing. All of a sudden, huh? Lin Feng exclaimed softly and stopped. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Lin Feng's every move affected everyone's hearts. Qi Yang and Qi Yu looked over and did not notice any strange movements ahead. They could not help but look at Lin Feng curiously. What's wrong, Lindigo? Wei Xian's eyes widened. There's a residual aura of life energy here. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. His life spirit's senses were several levels higher than everyone else's, especially after it merged with the Yang Fate Astrolabe. He could clearly sense every slight change in the air. Is it a mutated beast? Qi Yu was surprised. Or a shaman? Lin Feng shook his head. It did not seem like a mutated beast, nor was it the Zhurong shaman tribe or the Gomang shaman tribe that he knew. It was a very familiar feeling, but it also felt strange. I'm not sure. Lin Feng frowned slightly. The aura is extremely weak. I don't know if it's because they've been gone for a long time or if the aura itself is not strong. However, there are a lot of them and it's hard to estimate. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count them. There were at least tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of them. Is this the reason for the alarm in my heart? Lin Feng thought to himself. The others did not pay too much attention to it. They thought that Lin Feng meant that there were hundreds or thousands of them. With such weak auras, what was the point of having so many of them? Maybe it's some kind of demonic beast clan? Chiang nodded. There are many kinds of demonic beast clans in the chaotic swamp, including the dragon clan, the bear clan, the crocodile clan, and so on. Although the living environment here is extremely harsh, many demonic beasts can still adapt. I hope so, Lin Feng said. The dense aura felt a little like demonic beasts. If it was as Qi Yang said, there was nothing to worry about. Every demonic beast clan only had a few who could transform. Most importantly, even if they transformed, their strength was only equivalent to a galaxy level. Even Xian Er, who was the weakest, could fight. The group continued forward. Along the way, there was not much movement. It was very quiet. It was like a lake that was as calm as a mirror, without a single drop of water. But it was this that made people feel danger and fear. It was as if a storm was coming. It was as if it was an omen of danger. But what was coming, they could not avoid it. If they wanted to get out of this chaotic swamp, they could only keep moving forward, one step at a time. No matter what danger they encountered, they could only overcome it. Do you feel that the ground here has become much softer? Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he suddenly spoke. Everyone stepped on the ground and was surprised. If Lin Feng did not mention it, they would not have felt it. But now, it seemed to be true. Could it be like what Brother said, that it's a demonic beast clan? Chi Yu was shocked. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. After a period of confirmation, it was almost 80 to 90% likely. But there was no need to be too worried. A mere demonic beast clan was not worth mentioning. Back then, he could turn the entire Black Mist demonic Dragon Valley upside down by himself. At that time, his strength was so weak, but now... Let's continue. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. Against the waves. One step, one step. It was close to danger and terror. But there was no way to avoid it. Unless they retreated, no matter which direction they went, the danger level was the same. The ground was very soft, as if it had been hollowed out by something. In the air, there was a strange and indescribable aura that made people's hearts palpitate. As they continued to move forward and get closer, even Qi Yang and Qi Yu felt a subtle feeling. In fact, it was the aura of demonic beasts. It was very weak, but there were a lot of them. It should be a rodent, an insect, or an ant. Lin Feng quickly came to a conclusion. Growing up in the Tianwu continent, Lin Feng was familiar with the demonic beast record. He was far more familiar with demonic beasts than anyone else. These three types, not only were their numbers large, but they could also survive in extremely harsh environments. Qi Yang and Qi Yu nodded. They were not worried. With their strength of Galaxy level 7, demonic beasts that had not transformed could not cause any harm to them. It was like a steel plate that could be pierced by a small toothpick. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 15 minutes. Time passed slowly, and everyone's hearts became more and more serious. It was especially so for Lin Feng. His eyes were burning with passion. Countless battles had told him that when facing any enemy, he could not let his guard down, especially this kind of enemy that was full of the unknown. This was the depths of the chaotic swamp, after all, so how could anyone that was able to survive here be ordinary? Boom! Rumble. The ground was shaking, and so was everyone's heart. Everyone's face changed. Qi Yang and Qi Yu's eyes were burning, and their fighting spirit was soaring. They are coming. Lin Feng looked ahead and said slowly. The shaking under their feet was getting more and more intense. The ground in front of them was rolling like waves, as if something was wriggling. The aura of the demonic beast was very strong, but it had a strange feeling. It was indescribably uncomfortable, but also familiar. Everyone be careful. It might not be an ordinary demonic beast. Lin Feng's eyes were deep as he said in a low voice. The aura was getting stronger, and his life spirit was getting clearer. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes widened in shock. Happy Dragon Boat Festival, everyone. Xiao Xiao came back late. There will be another chapter later. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 411. What he saw, there were densely packed, white giant ants that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. They came from all directions, burrowing out of the ground and diving into the ground. They were about the size of a fist and looked like a mouse, but their features were completely of the ant race. Their bodies were divided into 3 segments. Their snow-white shell had black spots, bright and transparent, and looked extremely hard. Their developed upper jaws revealed sharp teeth, and their antennae shone with black light. It was similar. There's poison. Lin Feng reacted instantly. It had a very similar feeling to the wing bugs released by Wing, especially their shells. They were exactly the same, but one was black while the other was white. All right, in Wing's memory, after the swamp riot, it was corroded by an unknown object and mutated. Could it be the same for these giant ants? His heart throbbed. Lin Feng's mind was very clear. That was because these giant ants weren't ordinary at all. They had the aura of demonic beasts, but they also had the smell of bugs. It was a very special life force that seemed to have fused with the giant ants, completely changing them. These giant ants had the aura of galaxy-level power, but they did not transform. Most importantly, the densely packed giant ants numbered in the tens of thousands. It can't be. What demonic beasts are these? How can they be so powerful? Qi Yang and Qi Yu's expressions changed. Looking at the fist-sized giant ants and feeling the aura of galaxy-level power, the two of them panicked. They were not afraid if it was one-on-one, but there were tens of thousands of them. Once they charged, they would be swallowed whole. The number was too terrifying. They thought that the demonic beasts were at most beginner level, but they did not expect. These giant ants have mutated, Lin Feng said seriously. Everyone's face turned ashen. Not to mention that they were only galaxy level 7. Even if they broke through galaxy level and reached galaxy level, they would be useless in front of such a terrifying number. What do we do? Qi Yu's face was pale. Fight them. Qi Yang clenched his teeth. Kill as many as we can. His words were impassioned, but he lacked confidence. How many could he kill? Wei Xian's beautiful eyes stared at Lin Feng, but she didn't say anything. Despite facing such a situation, Linda Ji's expression didn't change at all. His calm face was like the calm surface of a lake. Even if the sky were to collapse, he would still be able to withstand it. This was confidence. He was able to kill the bad guys from the green and his sect, fend off the terrifying witch tribe, and subdue the powerful witch spirit. Wei Xian believed that this time, Lindigo would also have a way. Don't worry. Lin Feng's voice slowly sounded. When these words entered into everyone's ears, it was like a strand of clear spring water that caused their hearts to tremble. Qi Yang and Qi Yu looked over and saw the flame burning faintly in Lin Feng's hand. Feeling the scorching aura, the two of them widened their eyes and trembled slightly. Lin Feng was really the martial god, fire element martial god. However, no matter how powerful Lin Feng was, he had to face thousands of giant ants. Could he really withstand them? Moreover, there were so many of them. It was inevitable that he would lose sight of one thing and lose sight of another. Lin Feng might be able to survive, but what about them? This thought flashed through everyone's mind, because all the questions disappeared in an instant as the crazily burning flames covered the entire sky. Bang! The flame that shot into the sky suddenly exploded. Rebirth flame. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The phoenix natal chart in his body was extremely bright. The fluctuation of his natal spirit caused the flame to burn vigorously. With his body as the center, a huge wall of fire instantly spread out like a blazing lotus flower blooming. What a strong vitality. As expected, it's much stronger than ordinary demonic beasts. As the rebirth flame was released, Lin Feng could clearly feel the strength of these giant ants. These mutated giant ants had a stronger life force than ordinary magical beasts, and possessed the same toughness as the winged bugs that Wing had released. They were extremely difficult to kill, but in the end, they are still Star River level. Lin Feng felt lucky. If these mutated giant ants were Star Sea level, with their numbers and charging speed, His rebirth flame might not be able to withstand them. But now it was more than enough. Bang! Bang! The rapid burning of the flame caused the hissing of the giant ants. It was hair-raising. It was as if evil spirits were burning in hell. Xian Er felt her heart palpitate, but her face was filled with excitement. Her beautiful eyes were wide open. This was Linda Ge's true strength. What a powerful flame. Linda Ge is really powerful. Xian Er bit her lips, her beautiful eyes shining. Her heart was filled with admiration. In this dangerous swamp, Linda Ge saved her time and time again. He was like a guardian angel, protecting her and keeping her from harm. In fact, the ones who were truly shocked were Qi Yang and Qi Yu. The two of them stared at each other with their mouths agape. It was extremely comical. Their hearts were beating extremely fast, as if they were about to jump out of their chests. Looking at the flames that covered the sky, their eyes were filled with a fiery red. They could vaguely see the giant ants that were being roasted in the flames. Their ferocious appearance was filled with unwillingness, but they were instantly turned into nothingness in the flames. There were no other sounds, no other colors. That terrifying giant ant swarm from before had long since ceased to exist. Oh my God! Qi Yang's mouth was wide open. His open hand stopped in midair like a statue. Qi Yu's beautiful eyes were shining. Her beautiful face was extremely red. She crossed her fingers and clenched them tightly. This was the first time she saw Lin Feng's true strength. Seeing it up close was even more shocking. Time passed by minute. It was very long, but in everyone's hearts, it was very fast. It was as if in an instant, Lin Feng had killed tens of thousands of giant ants. Phew! Letting out a breath, the light in Lin Feng's eyes slowly disappeared. The flames in his hands turned into nothingness. His gaze swept across the surroundings. It was already empty. There were no longer any giant ants. Even the giant ants that were hiding in the ground turned into nothingness in his sea of flames. However, this is just the beginning. Lin Feng did not show any joy. The sense of danger in his heart did not lessen. The death of the giant ants was just an interlude. The real trouble was still in the unknown darkness. This chaotic swamp seems to be hiding a huge secret. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he fell in a deep thought. This swamp could mutate ordinary plants, and it could even mutate magical beasts. It was obviously not ordinary. What is that? Wei Xin exclaimed. In the flames, the giant ant's corpse was destroyed. What it left behind were white objects that looked like insect eggs. They were scattered all over the place. Qi Yang and Qi Yu looked at Lin Feng. In fact, Lin Feng did not know what those things were either. They're not inner cores. Lin Feng's eyes were shining. He thought to himself, I'm afraid it has something to do with the giant ant's mutation. Wing. Lin Feng called out softly. In an instant, a red-green light flashed in the middle of his left eyebrow. The appearance of the wings surprised everyone. Although this was not the first time they had seen it, this unique wood spirit was indeed very interesting. Boss! Wing suddenly exclaimed softly. He had discovered something. The branches shot out like venomous snakes and absorbed the white eggs, as if they were prey. As the flower buds bloomed, winged insects appeared one after another. They sniffed lightly and instantly ate the insect eggs. A strange thing happened. While eating the insect eggs, the winged insects gave birth to larvae. The larvae continued to grow by eating the insect eggs and absorbing them. It formed a cycle. Wei Xin snorted softly and covered her eyes. She felt a little creeped out. Qi Yang and Qi Yu were filled with curiosity. They looked at the black beetles that were constantly absorbing and growing. The number was increasing crazily. 1 time, 2 times, 4 times, it was as if they were replenishing their energy. Ha ha! Such sufficient energy, boss, Wing said happily. Many winged insects had absorbed enough energy. Their stomachs were big as they rubbed their way back to the main trunk. Winged insects kept entering the small cave at the root. Wing's body kept expanding, and soon, new buds grew out one after another, and the original buds continued to grow, turning into new branches. Wing, who had lost a lot of energy, was slowly recovering. Wing, what are these? Lin Feng asked curiously. Sensing the recovery of Wing's strength, Lin Feng also felt joy, but it was an unintentional gain. I'm not sure, boss. Anyway, I can recover my strength by absorbing them. Wing was overjoyed. If I absorb all of them, I can recover at least 60% of my strength. It's much faster than cultivating slowly. Lin Feng replied softly, Wing's strength recovery was of great help to him. A 6th level star C-level fighter, even if he only had 60% of his strength, was unparalleled. Soon, in less than half an hour, Wing had absorbed all of these white insect eggs. The main trunk had recovered, like a weak patient recovering. The branches emitted red and green light, emitting a faint fragrance. This time, it had the smell of a true wood spirit. It was no longer weak. Qi Yang and Qi Yu were both surprised and envious, while Xian'er's pretty face was slightly red. Once she smelled that familiar fragrance, she recalled the scene in the cave and didn't dare to look at Lin Feng. Wing had recovered close to 70%. Those lush branches rustled in the wind. They had recovered more than half. His combat power was unquestionable. Lin Feng smiled and took back Wing. He didn't need to do anything now. He just needed Wing to cultivate and grow. If he could break through the cosmic sea state and become a cosmic lord, by then, he would become his true trump card. Let's go. Lin Feng smiled. He was in a good mood. All right, everyone replied with a smile. To be continued. There are still 2 chapters before midnight. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 412. Fengyang Valley. With Li Ming's deliberate exaggeration, the whole thing had already been spread. People were talking about it everywhere. Li Ming was very smart. He deliberately told the story halfway, allowing people to guess and discuss. Anyway, the main story was clear, and that was enough. You can't judge a book by its cover. Lin Feng doesn't look like a bad guy. Hey, do bad guys have the words, "I'm a bad guy" written on their faces? I have long seen through it. That Lin Feng entered our Fengyang Valley with ill intentions. Really? How do you know? Okay, I can tell you, but remember not to tell anyone else. I have a cousin in Miluo sect. They have a disciple who looks exactly like Lin Feng. Then he disappeared. Now that I think about it, he must have been sent to Fengyang Valley as a spy. Oh my god, Lin Feng is a spy. Li Ming held a sharp sword and practiced in the martial arts field. As he listened to the discussions of the crowd, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. In an instant, the sword light became sharper. It was like a shooting star, and the flame was boiling. Bang! With a groan, the petite woman in front of him turned pale. She took a few steps back and stopped. Her oval face and long eyelashes were full of beauty. Her beautiful eyes twinkled. I didn't expect Junior Brotherly to recover so quickly. Your swordsmanship has improved a lot. Senior Sister Ding, you flatter me. Li Ming put away his sword and smiled. Ding Qing was one of the 3 peak galaxy-level warriors in Fengyang Valley. Keep up the good work. With Wang Feng's death, Fengyang Valley has less hope of entering the top 32 in this year's elite competition. Ding Qing sighed. Don't worry, Senior Sister Ding. I have enough confidence this time. Li Ming's eyes were bright. Ding Qing's eyes were deep. Okay, if you can enter the top 32 this time, I will let my sister marry you. My father and other elders will support you to be the successor of the sect leader. I know you like Xian, but Ding Qing sighed softly. Senior Sister Ding, you've misunderstood. Li Ming's eyes lit up as he said, I treat Xian like a sister, but I treat Yin with sincerity. Really? Ding Qing glanced over with her beautiful eyes and said indifferently, I don't care if you are sincere or not. As long as you can enter the top 32 this time and win glory for my Fengyang Valley, I will do as you say. Otherwise, no matter how eloquent your tongue is, it will be useless, Ding Qing said slowly. Don't worry, Senior Sister Ding. Li Ming smiled. He had stayed at the peak of the galaxy level for a long time. This time, With enough Douling coins, he was confident that before the elite martial competition, raise his strength to the Star Ocean level. Fengyang Hall. I didn't think that something like this would happen while I was in seclusion. The one who spoke was a middle-aged man with slightly white hair. He had a dignified aura and sat at the top of the Wind Rising Temple. He was the head of the Wind Rising Temple, Ding Hong. It's all my fault. Wei Hai sighed with sadness in his eyes. Junior brother, you were too careless this time. Ding Hong couldn't help but scold. That Lin Feng's background is unknown. How can you trust him so much? Head, Li Ming's words can't be trusted completely. Wei Hai's eyes darkened. Li Ming is my disciple. If I don't trust him, do I trust that Lin Feng? Ding Hong glared at him. Junior brother, what should I say to you? Back then, you and I left the sect and founded the Wind Rising Valley together. Who can understand the sadness? Where did the shrewd Wei Hai go? How can you be so foolish? Wei Hai sighed deeply and pursed his lips. He looked solemn and didn't say anything. Indeed, it was useless to say anything now. Senior brother, I plan to go to the chaotic swamp. Wei Hai thought for a long time and said slowly. Junior brother, I know you can't accept it, but Xian Er's death. Ding Hong hesitated and looked at Wei Hai's sad face. He skipped the words. The elite martial competition is about to begin. You've been the leader of the previous competitions. How can you leave? Moreover, this competition is different from the previous ones. I heard that a big shot from Yanling Prefecture is coming. Oh, Wei Hai's thick eyebrows deepened. What happened? I don't know either. Ding Hong's expression was solemn. The chaotic swamp. The sun rose and set. It was impossible to see it here. In the sky, a faint swamp mist filled the air. It had a purple glow and added a touch of demonic charm. Lindigo, how long will it take for us to get out of this swamp? Wei Xin asked. Qi Yang and Qi Yu's eyes also brightened. Everyone was tired after traveling day and night. After all, this was not only a test of physical strength, but also a test of mental willpower. They had to concentrate every minute and every second. In this swamp, at any time, there could be danger. Lin Feng thought for a while and said about 7 days. Everyone's eyes lit up. Wei Xian blinked and asked curiously, How do you know Linda Gu? I guessed. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Everyone was startled. Looking at the deep purple color in the distance, Lin Feng's eyes brightened. When we were swept away by the hurricane, it lasted for about an hour. Based on the speed of the hurricane and our current walking speed, we should be able to return to where we were in 7 days. Everyone's eyes widened. Lindigo, you can remember so clearly that day in the hurricane? Qiyu covered her mouth in shock. Amazing Lin Feng. Qiyang smiled bitterly and gave a thumbs up. I was in the clouds and didn't know anything. That's right. Wei Xian pouted. I even fainted. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Every detail was a sliver of hope for survival. He had to remember it clearly. I said 7 days, but we should be able to shorten it by a lot. Lin Feng nodded lightly. As long as we return to the Black Swamp, we don't have to walk as if we are treading on thin ice anymore. Our speed will increase by leaps and bounds, and we should be able to walk out of the chaotic swamp soon. His voice was calm, but everyone was excited. After all, no one wanted to stay here any longer. If we can really walk out of here alive, that would be great. Qiang clenched his right fist, and his eyes flickered. That's right, Qiyu said happily. We have collected so many mutated beast crystals, immortal fruits, and immortal herbs along the way. As long as Lindigo gives us some, we will be rich. Sister, Qiang pulled a long face and reprimanded. How can you be so greedy? Did we contribute to killing the mutated beasts? Without Lin Feng, we would have died in the chaotic swamp long ago. What did Father teach us? How can we be so greedy? Qiyu immediately blushed and lowered her head. Don't worry. Everyone will have a share of the harvest this time. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Lin Feng, how can you? Qiang said, but Lin Feng raised his hand and interrupted him. Everyone has a share. We are a team that has gone through thick and thin together. There is no need to be so clear about who contributed more and who contributed less. As long as we did our best, it is enough. Yay, that's great. Qiyu jumped up happily. Thank you, Lindigo. Wei Xian also smiled sweetly. I'm the one who's being petty. Qi Yang chuckled. Looking at everyone's happy faces, Lin Feng smiled faintly. He was not a stingy person. There was no need for him to be stingy with just a few Dolan coins. Moreover, the harvest this time was indeed plentiful. It was true that the chaotic swamp was dangerous, but at the same time, there were many treasures. Just the mutated beasts alone, they had killed more than 100 of them along the way. Not to mention the mutated beast crystals, just the corpses of the mutated beasts alone were worth a lot. There were also all kinds of immortal fruits and herbs. Not counting the 2-star and 3-star immortal fruits, they had collected 3 4-star immortal fruits. The price of each fruit was no less than the Bodhi flower. However, the premise is that we can walk out of the swamp. Lin Feng sighed softly. The worry that flashed across his face was unknown. The further they went, the more uneasy they felt. The more alert they became, but there was nothing they could do. They could only pray, if they were lucky. As they continued forward, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. In the distance, there was a huge mountain range. Looking from afar, it looked like a huge fortress. It looked like a huge beast crawling on the ground. It was extremely rare in the chaotic swamp. Along the way, they had seen many hills, valleys, and wilderness, but they had never seen such a small mountain. After all, the swamp was very humid and corrosive. Even if there was a mountain range, it would have collapsed long ago. Oh, the spirit chi here is so dense. Lin Feng was surprised. As they approached the small mountain, they could feel it even more clearly. Even the air was much cleaner. That's right. This place is so strange. Qiang was also curious. There must be something strange about this small mountain. Qiyu's eyes sparkled. Lin Feng smiled. Qi was right. There must be a reason for this abnormality. However, they were not in the mood to explore it. The further they went, the denser the spirit qi became. It felt as if they had walked into a paradise. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The spirit qi here was almost as dense as the periphery of the red swamp. It was very strange. Everyone looked at the small mountain range curiously. Suddenly, Lindigo, look! Wei Xian shouted in surprise. Everyone looked over. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He suddenly exclaimed softly. Where Wei Xian was pointing was a hole less than a meter in diameter. His life spirit sensed that it was the place where the spirit qi was the densest. Oh! Lin Feng walked toward the hole. As expected, the spirit qi's density kept increasing. It made his heart palpitate. This hole was very deep. It was so deep that it exceeded the range of his life spirit's senses. However, it was like a pipe. The spirit qi kept seeping out of the hole. It was very strange. This also caused the surrounding spirit qi to become denser. With this hole as the center, it expanded outwards. It seemed that there was something strange inside. However, it's better to avoid trouble. Let's go. Lin Feng smiled. Everyone nodded. Although the two women felt that it was a pity, they obeyed Lin Feng's orders. Lin Feng took a step forward and left the hole for less than 30 seconds. All of a sudden, his chest started to beat violently. His entire body shook violently. His expression changed drastically. Oh no! About to return to Fengyang Valley. A storm awaits Lin Feng. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 413. His ominous premonition had finally come true. Countless spots of light appeared in his mind where his life spirit had sensed them. Thump, 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 thump. Lin Feng's heart pounded violently, causing cold sweat to drip down his forehead. He instantly stood in place, motionless. He could sense that more than 100 light spots were approaching them at a frightening speed. It was the sorcerer tribe. What a similar aura. What's wrong, Lindigo? Wei Xian asked in surprise. Everyone looked at Lin Feng in shock. Seeing Lin Feng's expression change, their hearts trembled inexplicably. Clenching his right fist so tightly that his veins popped out, Lin Feng pressed his left hand on his chest, where his heart was. His eyes were clear. At this moment, he finally knew why his heart had sensed it. It had warned him and caused such a drastic change. It was as if he could predict the future. The heart of the sorcerer. Lin Feng's heart trembled. This heart of the sorcerer was full of mysteries and unknowns. The only thing he knew now was that it could absorb the drop of blood left behind by the sorcerer tribe members after they died. And only the sorcerer tribe members above the star sea level had this drop of blood. The reason why his senses were so strong and he sensed danger approaching was because the heart of the sorcerer had sensed the presence of the star sea level sorcerer tribe members. The stronger the fluctuations, the more powerful the star sea level sorcerer tribe members were, and the closer they were to him. The spots of light in his mind were like stars. There were more than 30 star sea level sorcerer tribe members. How could the fluctuations of the heart of the sorcerer not be strong? But it was already too late when he found out. Within the range of his senses, the number of Gomang's sorcerer tribe members was increasing. In a short moment, the number increased to more than 200. Among them, the strongest aura was estimated to have reached the peak of the star sea level. Not to mention others, just this Gomang sorcerer tribe member could kill him like cutting tofu. The difference of an entire level was too great. Phew, Lin Feng let out a deep breath. The light in his eyes settled, as if he had decided on something. We were discovered by the Gomang shaman tribe. Lin Feng said in a deep voice. Wei Xian and Qi were not too surprised. After all, Lin Feng had once killed a member of the Gomang shaman tribe, so there was nothing to be afraid of. However, Qiang could tell from Lin Feng's serious expression that something was amiss. How many? 200. Lin Feng's number made everyone gasp. It's still increasing, Lin Feng said solemnly. We should have accidentally entered the Gomang Magi clan's territory. It was not difficult to deduce. With such dense spirit qi, it was understandable that the Gomang shamans lived nearby. After all, the sorcerer tribe was the same as the ancient martial artists. They also needed to cultivate. Linda Gu, Wei Xian's face was deathly pale. It's useless. I'm no match for them. Lin Feng spoke the truth, instantly dashing everyone's last hope. Qi Yang and Qi Yu's faces turned pale, their breathing became rapid, and their bodies staggered. Not to mention 200 members of the Gomang shaman tribe. Even 2 members of the Gomang shaman tribe were enough to tear them to pieces. This time, there was really no way to retreat. I'll lure them away later. Let's split up and escape. Perhaps we'll have a chance to escape. Lin Feng's expression was calm. At this stage, he was no longer able to protect everyone. Even if he could help, the success rate was very low. The Gomang shaman tribe would not let anyone escape. Moreover, even if they could escape, without his help, the possibility of them surviving was almost zero. But what could they do? Linda Gu, Wei Xian's body trembled. Lin Feng, if we die together. Qiang glared. Qiang, am not a greedy person. Yes. Qi lifted her small chest with a righteous expression. Although I'm a woman, none of the descendants of the Qi clan are cowards. And me, Wei Xian pursed her lips. My life was saved by Linda Gu in the first place. All of you, looking at everyone's determined expressions, Lin Feng felt touched. Although everyone staying would not help, he could completely feel their sincerity. It was a sincere friendship. They had gone through life and death in the chaotic swamp, and there was a deep trust between them. But suddenly, Lin Feng was stunned. The image of the whole filled with spirit qi suddenly appeared in his mind, and his eyes suddenly lit up. At this moment, he could vaguely feel the bone-piercing aura behind him. It sent chills down his spine, and his hair stood on end. The strongest member of the Gomang shaman tribe was 10 times faster than him. In the blink of an eye, he was within the range of his life spirit's senses. It was too late. Lin Feng's left glabella instantly lit up. Red and green light appeared, and Yi's new branch immediately waved rapidly. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. You can't be like this, boss. Although he had only recovered 70% of his strength, with his defense and life force. It was enough to resist for a moment. And at this moment, it was enough for him to do many things. "Quick, everyone follow me!" Lin Feng hastily shouted as he turned around and sped away. At this moment, the terrifying Gomang shaman tribe had already appeared. He was close to 10 meters tall and stood out from the rest of the Gomang shaman tribe. But at this moment, Yi's attack also appeared. The flying branches and the winged bugs' crazed bloodlust instantly entangled the Gomang shaman tribe leader. "Hold on, Yi." Lin Feng's eyes were deep. In an instant, everyone reached the hole that was less than a meter in diameter. "Quick, go in," Lin Feng said. Everyone suddenly understood. The two petite girls quickly entered the hole, and Qiyang followed behind. Although their movements were extremely fast, those few seconds were enough for too many things to happen. The Gomang shaman tribe was abnormally terrifying and savage. Innately close to wood, the advantage of the Gomang shaman tribe against Yi was too obvious. Moreover, this peak StarCraft state, Gomang shaman tribe was much stronger than Wing, was completely unable to withstand the attacks, and was defeated in a short 2 to 3 seconds. The flying branches were directly cut off, and the shocking attack landed on Yi, severely injuring him in the blink of an eye. He had just recovered half of his strength when he was on the verge of death again. Boom! A crazy green light appeared as the Gomang shaman tribe attacked with their strongest attack. But in an instant, Yi's trunk turned into a beam of light and disappeared on the spot. As though he didn't exist, the Gomang shaman tribe's attack landed in the air. At this moment, the Gomang shaman tribe's army had completely descended and surrounded Lin Feng's group. "Just nice." Lin Feng's left eye flashed. Sensing Yi's weak body entering the fiery planet, he felt a little guilty, but at least he was still alive. As Qiyang entered the hole, Lin Feng stared at the Gomang shaman tribe, and at the last moment, whoosh! Instantly, he disappeared as well. Their angry roars were like thunder. Seeing Lin Feng and the others slip away, the Gomang shaman tribe was instantly enraged. It was a blatant insult. However, the hole was too small. It was less than a meter in diameter. Humans could enter, but the witch race, even the weakest star river level, was more than 3 meters tall. As for the peak star sea level, they were almost 10 meters tall. How could they enter? Boom! Boom! The Gomang shaman tribe swung their fists as though they were venting their anger and trying to break open the hole. They exerted all their strength. Indeed, the Gomang shaman tribe was incomparably strong. The hole expanded in the blink of an eye. But how could the speed of destruction compare to the speed of Lin Feng's group's escape? A narrow escape from death. Lin Feng's group was like a sharp arrow, shuttling back and forth. The hole was narrow, but the further in they went, the wider the hole became. From a diameter of less than a meter to 1.5 meters, they only needed to bend their bodies to move forward. Their speed was completely unleashed, and they instantly shook off their pursuers. Everyone's heartbeat was extremely fast. It was indeed a close call. Any later, and the consequences would have been unimaginable. Rumbling sounds could be heard, and soil would fall from time to time. Everyone could imagine the Gomang shaman tribe's anger. It was like a hunter watching his prey slip away. A narrow escape. They fled frantically for a full 5 minutes. They only stopped when they could no longer sense the Gomang shaman tribe's aura behind them. They panted heavily, their chests rising and falling. Their nervous emotions finally calmed down. Everyone looked at each other and laughed. They had escaped danger. It was too dangerous just now. Wei Xian patted her chest. Fortunately, Lin Feng, you were quick-witted and escaped, Qiyang praised. Linda Gu, you're amazing. Qiyu gave him a thumbs up, full of admiration. To be able to find a way to escape in such a short period of time, under such a dangerous situation, he was indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng smiled faintly. We were lucky to be able to find such a small cave to enter. After escaping so many times, survival had become an instinct for him. He was indeed lucky this time. Otherwise, he might have been able to escape, but the others might not have been able to. Those blockheads are too big, huh? Chiang said happily. The two girls also smiled. They were indeed happy when they thought of those big and tall Gomang shaman tribes' exasperated look. Let's go. We're not out of danger yet. Lin Feng nodded. They were trying to find joy in the midst of trouble. The danger was still not over. They did not know where this tunnel led to. Under Lin Feng's lead, the group ran for a full 15 minutes. This was different from rushing in the chaotic swamp. They were running at full speed. The distance they covered in 15 minutes was already quite terrifying. The spirit chi became denser and denser, shocking everyone. They finally reached the end of the extremely long tunnel. A bright white light flashed in front of them. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Their hearts were beating fast, and they were inexplicably excited. Every time we're in this swamp, bad news. Let's hope we'll be lucky this time. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. Ever since they entered the chaotic swamp, they had encountered endless dangers and troubles. It was a headache. It was time for good to come after bad. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to Kamachidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 414. At the end of the road, there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. The spirit chi in the tunnel kept increasing, and the other end seemed to be a blessed land with endless spirit chi. After passing through the tunnel, they reached the end. There was a faint white membrane in front of them that blocked their senses. Lin Feng looked back at the group and nodded. No one had any objections. There was no way out now. They would have to face the settlement of the Gomang shaman tribe. Death was the only way out. Let's go. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. At least his chest did not fluctuate much. He passed through, and the intense flames of rebirth gathered in his hands. It was better to be prepared. Whoosh! The white light shone in his eyes and slowly weakened. Lin Feng sniffed lightly, and his heart trembled. He inhaled the thick spirit chi into his abdomen, and his body instantly felt like a clear spring flowing through. The spirit chi here was many times denser than in the periphery of the red swamp. Smack! 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 3 figures appeared and floated in the air. Looking at the scenery in front of them and feeling the freshness of the spirit chi, everyone was filled with surprise and joy. Thud! Lin Feng landed on the grass, and the flames of rebirth in his hands disappeared. He felt every bit of spirit chi around him, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. This place was like a paradise on earth. The green grass was full of vitality, and the blooming flowers had an intoxicating fragrance. There were also all kinds of trees with fruits. The colorful world was filled with a sense of beauty. A faint purple light shone on this small world, making it seem like another world. We're safe, Lin Feng said with a smile. Yay, that's great. The two girls immediately cheered, and their excitement was obvious. Chiang looked around like a thief, looking at this fairyland-like blessed land. His face was filled with shock. Mystery star fruit, hidden orange flower. Chiang was completely stunned. There are even 5 gate trees. His mouth was wide open, and he could not close it. Chiang was a little dazed. Not even in his dreams had he imagined that he would come to a place where immortal fruits and immortal herbs gathered. 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and even 5-star immortal fruits could be seen everywhere, and they could be plucked by just stretching out a hand. It was as if a pauper had entered a mountain of gold and was completely stunned by the dazzling golden light in front of him. Compared to this place, the rich chaotic swamp was like a destitute wasteland. The difference was too great. At this time, the two women had also noticed the strangeness of this place. Their small faces flushed red, and their expressions were filled with disbelief. This was a truly blessed land. Only Lin Feng was slightly more normal. He looked around with a light smile. From the moment he entered this place filled with spirit chi, his life spirit had already sensed that something was different. There were no strange beasts here, nor were there any shamans. It was just a sea of flowers and trees. You guys rest here for a while, Lin Feng said softly. Everyone nodded in agreement. At this moment, they were excitedly searching for all kinds of spirit fruits. Taking slow steps, Lin Feng walked into the depths of the blessed enclave with caution. There must be a reason for such abundant spiritual energy. I hope there's no danger here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Compared to Wei Xian and the other two, his responsibility was much heavier. The stronger one was the more responsibility one had. This place was huge. Wei Xian and the rest were only the tip of the iceberg. The more he walked forward, the more shocked Lin Feng became. His body trembled for some reason. Very powerful. What is it? Lin Feng frowned slightly and pursed his lips. He did not retreat. Since he was here, he could not hide. Instead of guessing and worrying mysteriously, he might as well face it bravely. If he faced a problem, half of the problem would be solved. If he avoided the problem would double. Thud! Lin Feng's right foot stopped, and his expression was serious. It was as if he had stepped on a minefield. His body did not move at all. His eyes flickered and gradually became serious. A majestic aura enveloped his entire body, releasing a threat and a warning. The aura was very powerful. Wood spirit. As expected, there are restrictions here. Lin Feng thought. His right foot moved back slightly. Lin Feng did not step into this area again. He sensed that the wood spirit's aura was very strong, at least not weaker than he. At this juncture, there was no need to provoke such a strong enemy. More importantly, there was more than one wood spirit. If he forced his way in, the consequences would be unimaginable. Bypassing the wood spirit's domain, Lin Feng continued to explore. Along the way, he entered the domain of various wood spirits. The weakest was at the Star Ocean level, and the strongest was only a step away from the Star Lord level. The spiritual energy here is so strong. The wood spirit naturally can't be that weak. If I cultivate here, it will be twice the effort for half the result. Lin Feng pondered. He had already explored more than half of this strange spiritual energy land. Apart from a warning of the wood spirits, there did not seem to be any danger. He immediately calmed down. The scariest thing was that there were wolves in front and tigers behind. If that happened, they would be in big trouble. Soon, Lin Feng explored the entire spiritual energy land. It took him more than 2 hours. He was unharmed. He also made a lot of money. The few immortal fruits he casually picked were all very valuable. And this was just a drop in the bucket. This should be the small mountain I saw just now. Lin Feng nodded slightly. Whether it was the size or the location, it was very suitable. It was like a small mountain that was creeping on the ground, emitting a faint purple light. It was like a paradise. The only trouble is that the surroundings are completely sealed. There's no way out. If we want to go out, we have to go through that hole, but Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He felt a headache coming on. That hole was only a step away from the Gomang Shaman tribe's residence. Under their surveillance, how could he escape? At least it's safe here. Lin Feng smiled, as if a heavy stone had been lifted from his heart. This was the most important thing. As long as this place was safe, it was enough. Nothing in the world was perfect. Now that they could settle down and there was no danger to their lives, it would not be too late to plan for the future. Everyone must be waiting anxiously. Let's go back and tell them the good news. Lin Feng smiled. He moved his body lightly and disappeared. It's been more than 2 hours. Why isn't Linda go back yet? Wei Xian looked anxious. You should be back soon. Qiang nodded. It's been peaceful here. Lin Feng should not be in any danger. Brother, you don't know. Xian is worried. Qiyu laughed lightly, causing Wei Xian's face to turn red. A complicated expression flickered in Qiyu's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. She smiled and said, Don't worry, little sister Xian. With big brother Lin's strength, he is more than capable of protecting himself. Before she finished speaking, Qiang had already stood up. He's here, Qiang said. A light wind blew in front of them, and a figure appeared. Lin Feng smiled brightly. Looking at the anticipation in everyone's eyes, he smiled and nodded. Yeah, that's great. Qiyu jumped up happily. Qiang clenched his fists in excitement. Xian also smiled happily. Looking at Lin Feng, her emotions were clear. After wandering in the chaotic swamp for so long and narrowly escaping death several times. Everyone's body and mind had reached a critical point. They were on the verge of collapse. The chaotic swamp was a place where they had to focus every minute and every second. If they were not careful, they would not even have a corpse left. The pressure was immense. But now, it was as if a tight spring had suddenly loosened. Everyone's faces revealed smiles of relief. Breathing in the fresh air, it was as if they had been reborn. They were finally safe. Extreme misfortune brought bliss. After that, Lin Feng briefly explained the situation here. Everyone nodded as they listened. They were very clear and detailed. In fact, there was not much to pay attention to. As long as we don't step into the area in the middle, it should be fine. Lindigo? Chiyu smiled. There are so many spirit herbs, spirit fruits, spirit trees, and spirit fruits here. It's enough for us to live for a long time. That's great. We can cultivate in peace. Chiang nodded. Everyone agreed. After coming out and seeing the outside world, they realized how weak they were. Without Lin Feng, they would not be able to move an inch. Even though they were one of the best in Fengyang Valley, here, they were like ants. The Doling world was very realistic. Without enough strength, there was no way to survive. Wei Xian clenched her small fists. Her eyes were very determined. She did not want to be Lin Deji's burden anymore. She wanted to cultivate hard and become a true martial artist. With the number of spirit fruits here, it's more than enough to cultivate for 8 to 10 years, let alone 10 to 15 days. Lin Feng smiled. It was rare to see a place with such dense spirit energy. Cultivating here was much more efficient than cultivating outside. Even he was tempted, but right now, he had more important things to do. Yeah, just treat it as seclusion. Qi Yang shrugged. Anyway, those Gomang shamans are guarding outside. We won't be able to get out for a while. Brother, you're wrong. Qi Yu shook her head. Not for a while. I'm afraid we won't be able to get out for the rest of our lives. Qi Yu's words made Qi Yang and Wei Xian fall silent. Indeed, there was no other way. Once they left the cave, they would be instantly discovered by the Gomang shamans. That was a dead end. There were more than 200 Gomang shamans. 1/3 of them were Star Sea states. The strongest one was even a peak Star Sea state. Who could break through such a formation? Even if all the martial artists in Fengyang Valley gathered, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg. Those were the true shamans. A peak Star Sea state was almost comparable to a human cosmic lord. His joy and happiness vanished in an instant. It was replaced by deep worry and hesitation. Entering this Xanadu, a place filled with spiritual energy, should have been a happy thing. But there was no way out. Catching a turtle in a jar. Tomorrow is the big release. Xiao Xiao is so excited. There will be a big release tomorrow. There will be a big release for the next week. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 415. Don't worry, Lin Feng said slowly. Lin Feng's bright eyes looked around at the astonished crowd. He raised his head with a hint of confidence. Tomorrow, I will return to Fengyang Valley. All you need to do is cultivate here. Lin Feng nodded with bright eyes. I can't guarantee anything else, but I will definitely bring you back to Fengyang Valley in half a year to a year, or 3 to 4 years if I'm slow. This might take up a lot of his time, but one must finish what one started. Everyone's eyes lit up. They might not trust other people but Lin Feng, but they believed it 100%. Since he said it, he would definitely do it. That's great. Wei Xian said happily. That's right. Lindigo, you should have said it earlier. You made us so worried just now. Qi Yu smiled. 3 to 4 years? To a martial artist, that was just a moment. As long as they cultivated, time would pass quickly. Moreover, this place of spiritual energy, to a martial artist, it was something that could only be found by chance. Many people wanted to find such a place of cultivation, but couldn't find it. As long as they could get out, they could stay here for 8 to 10 years, let alone 3 to 4 years. The two ladies looked at each other with excitement. If they cultivated here, they would soon reach the peak of galaxy level and charge towards galaxy level. Once they reached galaxy level, they would be able to gain a foothold in Do Ling world. Galaxy-level existences were like dust in Do Ling world. There were too many of them. They were not eye-catching at all. But there are Gomong sorcerer tribe guards outside the cave. Lin Feng, how are you going to get out? Qiang frowned and asked curiously. I have my ways. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He had plenty of ways to escape. If not for the need to protect everyone, he would have returned to Chaos Ridge or even Fengyang Valley. How confident are you? Qi Yang's eyes flickered. More than 90%. Lin Feng pondered. If the strongest Gomong sorcerer tribe outside was only a peak galaxy level, he could definitely escape easily. It was much more convenient to do everything alone. Quantity? It had never been a problem for him. A faint purple aura swirled around them. In this land of spiritual energy, everyone had the most peaceful night since they entered the chaotic swamp. There would be no shamans here, and there would be no endless dangers. There would also be no super hurricane to bring them to an unfamiliar place. Exhausted to the extreme, the two girls fell into a deep sleep. For them, this period of time was the most difficult period of their lives. But in the end, he still managed to get through it. Thank you, Lin Feng. Qiang smiled. You're welcome. Lin Feng smiled calmly. Without you, even dying a few times in the chaotic swamp wouldn't have been enough. Qiang sighed softly and revealed a self-deprecating smile. To think that I always thought highly of myself, but I didn't want to be a frog in a well. Only after I came out to roam the world did I realize how insignificant I was. Who isn't like this? Lin Feng looked at the sky and murmured softly. Everyone would go through this process. Only after experiencing it and trying it out could one truly understand it. Hadn't he been a frog in a well too many times? Although he had lost a lot, he was lucky that he was still alive. Qiang smiled and said that Lin Feng was humble. This is a good opportunity for me. Cultivating here for a year is equivalent to cultivating outside for 5 or even 10 years. When the time comes, I will definitely become a Star Ocean level expert. Clenching his right fist, Qi Yang's eyes were filled with confidence and determination. During this period of time, although he didn't say it out loud, Qiang had been feeling very guilty. As a man, not only was he unable to protect women, he had to be protected by others. He was very ashamed. I will. Lin Feng smiled. When I'm not here, take good care of them. Don't worry, unless I die, Xian'er will definitely not lose a single hair. Qiang said softly. He looked at Lin Feng and nodded. I won't say any more polite words. In the future, if you need me, Qiang, for anything, I will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Lin Feng smiled and patted Qi Yang's shoulder with his right hand. Then he stood up. I checked carefully just now. Other than the unknown central area, the rest of the place is very safe. Lin Feng said slowly. His eyes flickered as he looked at the two sleeping women. The reason why he stayed for a while was to be safe. He was afraid that there would be hidden dangers. The more he checked, the more insurance he would have. This way, he could leave with peace of mind. Take care. Qiang stood up with a hint of reluctance in his eyes. You too. Lin Feng reached out and shook his hand. The two looked at each other and smiled. This was the friendship between men, a relationship that was built by going through fire and water together. Unbreakable. Take care, Xian'er. Lin Feng clenched his right fist. His gaze lingered on the beautiful face that resembled Zi Yao. He couldn't help but think of the charming scene in the cave. Was he treating Xian'er as a substitute for Zi Yao? Or did he really have feelings for her? Lin Feng shook his head. Even he didn't know. Let time prove it. Lin Feng said softly. Then he turned around. No longer reluctant to part. No longer reluctant to part. He strode forward. How could he not know that Xian was just pretending to be asleep? But now it was good for both of them. Take care, Lindigo. Xian closed her eyes, and a line of clear tears flowed down. She couldn't bear to part, but she knew that she would only be Lin Deji's burden now. She didn't want to be his burden. Stepping into the long cave again, Lin Feng was all alone. To him, This land of spiritual chi was indeed a treasure place for cultivation. But now, he had more important things to do. Improve his strength. His war god level had already reached the 7th level of the Star River level. Although he wasn't at the peak, he had already fulfilled the requirements for promotion. The difference between advancing from the 7th order and advancing from the peak was, firstly, the difficulty of the advancement, and secondly, the strength after the advancement. And this strength wasn't intrinsic. It was a gradual improvement. Just like the first level of the Star Sea level, one could quickly make up for it with cultivation. But from the 7th level of the Star River level to the peak level, it was very slow. The efficiency was much worse. If my war god level can reach the Star Sea level, I will have a huge breakthrough in a short time. Lin Feng thought. His current physical fitness was already comparable to a Star Sea level warrior. If he had a breakthrough, a higher foundation would bring an even higher improvement. This was a true intrinsic sublimation. It's getting harder and harder to improve the flame of rebirth. As the Phoenix natal chart reaches a huge bottleneck, I can only rely on only the strength of a war god. The spear in my hand. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he rushed forward. For a long time in the future, his strength would depend on the power of a war god. No problem. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He had absolute confidence in his own strength. Going through the cave and passing through the Gomang shaman tribe's residence, what he relied on was also the strength of a war god. We're here. Lin Feng stopped in his tracks. In less than 15 minutes, he returned to the cave from the land of spirit chi. He ran at full speed, and his speed was twice as fast as when he entered. At that time, he had to accommodate everyone. But now, he had no more burdens. This place seems to have been damaged a lot. Lin Feng observed the surroundings. It was obviously different from when he entered. The traces of destruction were obvious, but the giant light shaman tribe knew that their efforts were useless and did not continue. If they destroyed it again and the mountain collapsed, they would be the ones to suffer. Spirit chi was the biggest factor for the survival of the Gomang shaman tribe. Wait, Lin Feng's eyes widened, and his expression changed slightly. The black swamp, the purple swamp, and the red swamp. The spirit chi increased accordingly. This was the center of the purple swamp. Originally, the density of spirit chi was not as high as the red swamp. However, because of the existence of a land of spirit chi, the density of spirit chi here was even higher than the periphery of the red swamp. And wasn't this the biggest reason why the Gomang shaman tribe settled down here? If he cut off the source of spirit chi or weakened the output of spirit chi, what would happen? The Gomang shaman tribe will definitely look for the reason and a solution. Lin Feng thought to himself. He could totally imagine what the Gomang shaman tribe would do. After all, they were basically no different from humans. As one of the 3 major human races, they had a considerable amount of intelligence. If they can't find a solution within a period of time, then Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he nodded thoughtfully. When that time came, the Gomang shaman tribe would most likely move away. It was very simple to think from their perspective. I can give it a try. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. This plan would not harm them at all. There were many advantages and no disadvantages. This place is too close to the cave. It's not good. Lin Feng thought to himself. He looked into the depths of the darkness and instantly passed through. In the middle of the tunnel. Let's do it here. Lin Feng's eyes focused. This position was just right. Even if they were accidentally discovered, they would not cause any harm to Xian Air and the others. Basically, if they were blocked in such a deep place, the chances of being discovered by the shaman tribe, who were at least 3 meters tall, would be very slim. Boom! Lin Feng's fist landed on the top of the tunnel. In an instant, huge rocks fell down, causing a small area to collapse. Lin Feng controlled the power of this punch very well. He didn't destroy anything in the tunnel, but he blocked the tunnel. All that was left was a small gap. Very good. Lin Feng's lips curled up into a smile. The spirit chi channel was completely blocked. Less than 1% of the spirit chi leaked out. This was definitely a disaster for the Gomang shaman tribe. One could imagine how big of a commotion it would cause. Once they were discovered, the Gomang shaman tribe would definitely go crazy. There's not much time left. I have to leave quickly. Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he immediately rushed out. Things were different now. The weakening of spirit qi would soon be discovered. If the cave entrance was blocked, to him, it would be quite troublesome. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 416. Whoosh. Lin Feng was like an arrow piercing through the sky. His mind was completely focused as he traveled rapidly. I sensed that there were still many witches gathered at the entrance of the cave. They're really persistent, Lin Feng thought to himself. The weakening of the spirit qi had not been discovered so quickly. There was only one reason why the Gomang witches were gathered here. They were still guarding his group. They were indeed very stubborn. The strongest Gomang witches are not here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and his confidence increased. In this Gomang witches tribe, the strongest was a peak star sea level being. He was so strong that he could easily kill Wing. With such strength, his status in the tribe was obviously quite high. The Gomang witches guarding the entrance of the cave had ordinary strength. Only one Gomang witches was a star sea level being. Judging from his aura, he was only a star sea level one. If it was any other day, he would be able to kill it easily. But now there was no need. If I'm lucky, I might not have to use that move. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Secret doppelganger. Lin Feng's body suddenly became blurry and light, as if two pieces of paper were slowly being separated. Urgent fire shuttle. A red light instantly appeared and took Lin Feng away. The rebirth flame suddenly exploded. Lin Feng was like a dragon emerging from the sea. He turned into a fierce red light and charged out of the cave with the momentum of breaking the sky. In an instant, intense flames surged, and Lin Feng's eyes shone with a bright light. Boom! Boom! The red light flashed, and the burning flames exploded in the center of the Gomang witches. One of the Gomang witches' bodies was instantly blasted into smithereens. The rest of the Gomang witches were enraged, and their angry shouts were like thunder. The green flames were very shocking. Lin Feng instantly felt a powerful force blasting towards him. But he was already prepared. Deceleration space. Lin Feng's eyes lit up with a cold light. Pure heaven and earth energy instantly gathered and wrapped around his body. It was as if a huge dragon was circling around his body, and the energy of his aura was completely released. The heaven and earth qi, with the star sea level Gomang shaman tribe as the center, exploded like a bomb, affecting all the Gomang shamans around it. The tremendous pressure, gravity, and suction force had been crazily suppressing every single Gomang magus. These birdmen, who had wings on their backs, were all screaming and waving their claws in anger. However, it was completely under Lin Feng's control. The sorcerer tribe is nothing more than this. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. If it was a sorcerer of the same level, he could easily defeat him. But now was not the time to be fighting. The battle here had already attracted the attention of the entire Gomang shaman tribe. They could feel that the strongest aura was coming at them at a speed 10 times faster than their own. The crisis was getting worse and worse. Let's go. Lin Feng stepped on the urgent fire shuttle, his body like a sharp arrow shuttling out. He did not head south. Instead, he turned 90 degrees and darted toward the empty space in the west. Instantly, the Gomang shaman tribe chased after him. Their huge wings rubbed against the air, producing a series of explosive sounds. The power of the deceleration space quickly weakened, and the Gomang shaman tribe behind him was completely enraged. Lin Feng was in danger, but good timing. Stepping on the urgent fire shuttle, Lin Feng felt that all the auras were following him closely. Instead of being angry, he smiled. The corners of his mouth curved into a slight arc, and his eyes sparkled. Everything was developing in the direction that he had set. Rebirth fire. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. As he moved forward, he kept releasing rebirth fireballs to bombard the area behind him. It was as if he was afraid that the Gomang shaman tribe would lose him. It's about time. Lin Feng smiled indifferently in the hole. There was a faint light in his eyes. It was not as bright as his secret doppelganger, but it was genuine, his real body with all the power of a war god. Time is of the essence. The opportunity is now. Whoosh! Lin Feng dashed out. At this moment, the entire Gomang shaman tribe had been lured out, and they were chasing towards the west. On the other hand, the south side where the tribe was located was empty. To him, it was like an open space in front of his eyes. There were no more obstacles. Whoosh! He flew up. Although his speed was not as fast as the urgent fire shuttle, it was not much slower. His physical control had also reached the 7th level of the galaxy level. Lin Feng was like a fierce whirlwind, and he was extremely focused as he sped forward. Although the senses of a human soul were not as sensitive as a life soul, he was still vigilant of his surroundings. After all, this was the tribe of the Gomang shaman tribe. There were huge tents and piles of wood. He could vaguely feel the extinguished flames. The ferocious totem had a monster with the body of a bird and the face of a human. It was very similar to the Gomang shaman tribe, but in comparison, it was more dignified and powerful. That arrogant aura was like that of a high and mighty emperor, making people look up to him with reverence. His heart was shocked. With just a glance, he felt his head buzzing. This was the power of a true expert. So powerful, Lin Feng thought to himself. But this place is so backward. Lin Feng thought to himself. This was the first time he had seen the tribe of the shaman tribe. Compared to the prosperity of humans, this was like the most primitive tribe. There was no technology to speak of. They were close to nature, and everything was primitive. They recovered their essence and felt the purest aura of heaven and earth. So this is the shaman tribe, Lin Feng said, but he was secretly impressed. They were not affected by any temptation or influence. Every shaman tribe member was destined to do one thing from birth: become stronger, cultivate, and become stronger. This was the meaning of their survival. On the other side, it seems that they are all here. They are really united. Lin Feng smiled casually. Although there were strong enemies behind him and danger was everywhere, he was not nervous. The urgent fire shuttle sped forward crazily. It was at full speed, and its strength was fully displayed. At this moment, he no longer had any scruples. He only needed to do one thing: lure the tiger away from the mountain. The longer he lured these shamans away, the longer the distance, the more advantageous it would be for him. Fire of rebirth. Lin Feng raised another fireball and threw it back. It caused a series of angry roars behind him. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. Although he did not understand the language of the shaman tribe, he could imagine what they were shouting about. The shaman tribe's body was strong, but he was not weak either. They were both at the 7th level of the Star River realm. The shaman tribe could not catch up at all. Moreover, with the deceleration space, he could control the distance between them at will. There was only one possibility to catch up to him, much stronger than him. It's here. Lin Feng's eyes darkened. A truly powerful aura descended, and he could feel it clearly. The powerful shaman who had heavily injured Wing finally caught up. Peak of the Star Sea realm. This was a strength that he needed to look up to. Even if his strength increased to the Star Sea realm, he was still not a match for him. Not to mention now. But he had achieved his goal this time. It was enough to attract this monster here. Every bit of time counted. Boom! The rebirth fire exploded wildly. Lin Feng did not need to turn back. He only needed to release it with all his might. With the endless rebirth fire, he did not care about the consumption. He only cared about how much time he could delay. Every extra bit was a gain. That powerful Gomang shaman had entered the range of his life spirit. He was extremely fast. He was more than 10 times faster than him. His back was completely cold, and his hair stood on end. Lin Feng felt a sense of horror. It was like being targeted by a cheetah in the forest. The whistling wind passed by, and the sound of air being torn apart could be heard. That monster was getting closer and closer, and he could almost smell his scent. At this moment, deceleration space. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. The spiral-shaped heaven and earth energy surrounded his body, forming an intense energy wave. It affected and restricted the peak star sea realm, Gomang Shaman. The majestic pressure surged towards him, but it only made him pause for a moment. The difference in strength was too great. The power of the deceleration space could not be unleashed. The sound of air being torn apart rang out, and a huge body that was nearly 10 meters tall showed extraordinary speed as it caught up. The eyes on the thin face were bright, flashing with an extremely cold light, and killing intent was revealed. A dark green aura spread out, and a pair of iron fists seemed to penetrate space and attack him. It was extremely fast. There was no way to dodge. But goodbye. Lin Feng smiled. Seeing that the iron fists with intense green light were about to land, Lin Feng's body dissipated like smoke and dust, and his entire person was in a hazy state. Whoosh! The wind from the fists rose slightly, but it only shattered that afterimage. Lin Feng had completely disappeared from the spot. Close! Lin Feng's eyes were serious. The secret clone returned, and Lin Feng's eyes changed slightly. His strength increased again. This time, it was quite perfect to lure the snake out of its hole. The entire Gomang Shaman tribe was almost emptied. It seems that I don't need to use that move anymore. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Not using that move that consumed a lot of strength was enough to save a lot of effort. Now, the Gomang Shaman tribe had been lured to the distant west and would not return anytime soon. According to his estimation, by the time they returned, he would probably have escaped. The entire plan was executed perfectly. It was unexpectedly smooth. Life returning to the origin, returning to the essence, can indeed be focused on cultivation. But in terms of wisdom, these shamans are indeed inferior to humans. Rather than wisdom, it was better to say cunning. Lin Feng smiled, feeling very satisfied. His body shot straight up, and the urgent fire shuttle streaked across a dazzling fiery light and instantly appeared under his feet. His speed increased again, and after passing through the Gomang Shaman tribe, Lin Feng kept accelerating and flew south. Suddenly, thump, 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 his chest was beating violently. Lin Feng's expression changed. He pressed his left hand on his chest, and his head shook. His eyes were extremely bright. Looking into the distance, Lin Feng suddenly slowed down. It was a feeling of his heart calling. The witch's heart seemed to have found something. It was not fear, but excitement. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 417. It was a huge palace. Compared to the surrounding tents, this was indeed a palace. It was made of countless stones and was about 50 meters tall. It looked majestic and grand. At the top of the palace, a statue of the Gomang Shaman tribe stood tall. It spread out its huge wings, and its body was covered in green light. Its strong body was filled with explosive muscles. It was a replica of the totem. It stood on two dragons and looked ferocious, majestic and domineering. It made people feel a chill run down their spines. Lin Feng's eyes were deep. He covered his chest with his left hand, as if his heart would jump out if he did not do so. At the belly of the Gomang Shaman tribe statue, a faint green light was shining. It was as bright as the stars in the sky. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. He could feel the powerful energy and the violent fluctuation of the heart of the shaman. The reaction was coming from there. This is... Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Green blood droplets. Lin Feng instantly understood, and his eyes blazed with desire. This green blood drop was bigger than any of the green blood drops he had absorbed. Much bigger. Not only was it big, but the energy it contained was also abundant. Without a doubt, the green blood drop in the statue was filled with powerful energy. It was a heaven-defying energy. It was like the purest energy in the world. No wonder the heart of the shaman was fluctuating so violently. I want it. Lin Feng's eyes shone. Since he came, how could he return empty-handed? With a treasure in front of him, he would be letting himself down if he did not take it. He would be letting down the heart of the shaman. Bang! The nightmare demon spear was unsheathed. Clang! Lin Feng raised the spear and stepped out with his right foot. His power exploded. Clang! There was an intense collision. Lin Feng felt a tightness in his chest, and he immediately stepped back. His chest felt like it was struck by lightning. The powerful reaction numbed his right hand, and he almost lost his grip on the nightmare demon spear. The power of the statue was far beyond his expectations. Impossible, this statue is just... Lin Feng's expression changed. I got it. Instantly, Lin Feng came to a realization. In his senses, the huge green drop of blood hidden within the statue was shining with a sparkling and translucent luster. Obviously, it was protecting the statue from harm. I don't believe in heresy. Lin Feng's eyes were bright as he shouted in a deep voice. In an instant, the whirlpool under his right foot was extremely bright. The image of the spear that was covered in flames appeared in his mind. His body shot out like lightning, and his right foot quickly stepped on the ground, raising his speed to the highest point. The power passed through his spine and into his right arm. It was completely driven by the spear intent, and it was as if a dragon was roaring. Extreme Yang, Sun Dragon Spear Art. Lin Feng shouted. This Sun Dragon Spear art was something he had secretly learned from Wang Feng. He had comprehended the spear intent from the wooden carvings in the wind-rising temple, together with the flame of rebirth. This was his strongest move. But pong! A violent collision sound rang out. It was as loud as thunder, causing Lin Feng to spit out blood and fly backward. The defensive power of the huge green drop of blood was far beyond his imagination. His chest felt as if it was being burned by fire, and he felt as if his entire body was about to fall apart. The greater the power, the greater the reaction. Fortunately, the flame of rebirth that had attacked the tip of the spear did not have any reaction. Otherwise, if he had taken the full brunt of the attack, he would have been seriously injured even if he did not die. Staggering, Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he stared at the huge drop of green blood. His eyes were burning with passion. Was there really nothing he could do about it? On the other side, with Lin Feng's sudden disappearance, the Gomang shaman tribe were all stunned. They could not figure out how Lin Feng had disappeared. They looked at each other and whispered in each other's ears, but they did not know what had happened. The leader of the Gomang shaman tribe, who was close to 10 meters tall, was shouting angrily, like a general reprimanding his soldiers. The Gomang shaman tribe members all responded in unison. They were probably giving out a mission to search the entire area. It was a great humiliation that a mere human had escaped right under his nose. Hashtag and dollar. The Gomang shaman tribe member shouted angrily. But in an instant, the Gomang shaman tribe member's face turned pale, and his expression changed rapidly. He roared into the sky, and his voice was like thunder. In an instant, all the Gomang shaman tribe members were shocked. They were like sharp arrows that rushed toward the tribe in an instant. They were completely enraged. Bang, bang. The flames burned. The flame of devouring rose in his hands and devoured the entire statue. The fluctuation in his chest was extremely strong, and the huge green drop of blood was right in front of him. As expected, there is no reaction. Lin Feng smiled faintly. There was still blood at the corner of his mouth, but there was a smile on his face. Just as he had expected, the statue, no, the green drop of blood did not have any ability to attack on its own. All it could do was defend and protect itself. It was like an instinct. As a matter of fact, it did not have any intelligence or consciousness. As long as he did not attack the statue, he would not be attacked by it, and the flame of devouring came in handy. The speed at which the flame of devouring absorbed and merged with the statue was not fast. With the buff from the green blood drop, the statue had quite the defense and durability as well. But even a drop of water could penetrate a stone, let alone a thin layer of a statue. Although his flame of devouring did not improve after he opened the Yang Fate Astrolabe and obtained the flame of rebirth, the flame of devouring did not improve. But after reaching the 30th level, the power of the flame of devouring was considerable. Although it was not as powerful as the flame of rebirth, the flame of devouring was a genuine, offensive flame. Chi! Chi! The burning continued. Lin Feng felt the green drop of blood getting closer and closer to him. It was as if it was just inches away, and he could touch it if he reached out. At my current speed, half an hour will be enough. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he urged the flame of devouring with all his might. Half an hour was not a long time, but it was not short either, especially since he was in the Gomang Shaman tribe's headquarters. It was like pulling a tooth from a tiger's mouth. Indeed, newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. If it were other humans, who would dare to do this? Who would dare to provoke the shaman tribe? Faster, faster. Cold sweat kept dripping from Lin Feng's forehead. He was burning with anxiety. Every second was torture. Every second, he could feel the impending danger. Thump, thump. His heartbeat, along with the heart of the shaman, became more and more serious. It was an extremely familiar feeling. It was a terrifying feeling. It was a constant warning of impending danger. They were back. Angry shouts sounded in his ears. They were hysterical and crazy. Without a doubt, the huge green drop of blood and the statue were very important to the Gomang shaman tribe. The feeling was getting clearer and clearer. The danger was getting closer and closer. Lin Feng's heart began to tremble. There was not much time left. But there's no time. There's no time. The engulfing fire was urging with all his might. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with madness. However, half an hour was enough for many things to happen. If he stubbornly insisted on obtaining this huge green drop of blood, the consequences would be very tragic. When a statue broke, he would probably be dead. The Gomang shaman tribe was too fast, especially the leader of the Gomang shaman tribe. He was more than 10 times faster than him. He stood out among all the Gomang shaman tribe. He was definitely not his match. One last time, Lin Feng gritted his teeth. There was a hint of madness in his eyes. He was unwilling to give up just like that. The huge green drop of blood had a strong connection with the heart of the shaman. It was very likely that it could unlock the secret of the heart of the shaman. With the engulfing fire as the axis and fusing with the statue, the green drop of blood might not resist. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He urged the engulfing fire with his left hand. At this moment, his mind was completely focused. The phoenix natal plate was extremely bright. A unique flame spread. The rebirth flame. His most powerful flame was still the rebirth flame. His life spirit and human spirit each controlled 2 extreme flames. Lin Feng's mind was focused to the extreme. He was doing his best. It was very dangerous now. If he was not careful, he would burn himself. But if he did not try, how could he be satisfied? Rise! The rebirth flame instantly spread. Lin Feng controlled it carefully and hid behind the engulfing fire. He wanted to destroy the statue in an instant and get away with it. But many things did not go according to one's wishes. In an instant, oh no, Lin Feng's expression changed. He could not hide from the green drop of blood. An extremely powerful reaction force exploded. At this moment, the sharp sound of the air breaking behind him was completely heard. It was approaching at an extremely fast speed. Lin Feng was shocked. His mind was blank. At this moment, he seemed to have come to the Yang natal plate. The image of the huge phoenix appeared in his mind. The rebirth flame and the engulfing flame coiled around his body, forming a delicate balance. In an instant, Lin Feng's head shook. There was no hesitation. He did not have any other thoughts. Right now, there was only one path left for him to take. Close. Lin Feng's eyes were bloodshot. His hair stood on end, and his face was ferocious. All of his strength and spirit were completely condensed together. At this moment, he was going all out. The life spirit and human spirit merged in an instant. They were originally one. The engulfing flame and the rebirth flame combined and squeezed crazily. These were two types of flames that were extremely incompatible. It was as if the heavenly thunder had attracted the earth's fire. The collision of two huge meteorites caused a huge commotion that shocked everyone. In an instant, there was a loud bang. Boom! It was like thunder. The crazy flames devoured everything around them. It was an earth-shaking explosion. The pursuing Gomang shamans were all forced back by the majestic flames. The intense flames illuminated the entire Gomang shaman tribe. The crazy power seemed to swallow the sky. It was a complete explosion. Chapter 418. It was insane. Even Lin Feng did not expect it to be so terrifying. The earth-shattering explosion and the indiscriminate energy attack had even injured him. However, they were of the same origin. Regardless of whether it was the fire of rebirth or the fire of engulfment, the injuries would not be too deep. Otherwise, Lin Feng would have died in the center of the explosion no matter how many lives he had. Even so, the indiscriminate explosion was still powerful. Even if it was just a little bit, it was enough to leave Lin Feng badly mutilated. It was too horrible to look at. In the blink of an eye, he was severely injured. Intense pain assaulted him, but Lin Feng did not frown. Instead, a faint smile appeared on his lips. He was filled with joy. In front of him, the huge statue had completely shattered. The green blood droplet was close at hand, shining brightly. Reaching out his right hand, Lin Feng grabbed the green blood droplet. In an instant, thump, 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 his chest was beating violently. The green blood droplet emitted endless light. Lin Feng could feel the excitement of the lich's heart. As usual, he absorbed the green blood droplet. In an instant, endless light bloomed in front of his chest, devouring the huge green blood droplet. A huge wave of energy accompanied him. Lin Feng was filled with shock. However, #ad, a roar filled with extreme anger shook the sky. It was filled with sorrow and madness. Affected by the violent explosion, many members of the Gomang shaman tribe were injured. Although the powerful force did not injure the peak star sea level Gomang shaman tribe, it made him completely hysterical. *T. Lin Feng's expression changed. His life spirit sensed that more than 200 members of the Gomang shaman tribe had arrived. The Gomang shaman tribe closest to him, and also the strongest, was completely hysterical. He penetrated the flames and launched a fierce attack at him. Extreme anger. Lin Feng was heavily surrounded. There was no way out. There was no chance of survival. His strength was exhausted, and his body was severely injured. He was like an old man with one foot in the grave. It seemed that only death was waiting for him. But was it really so? Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes were extremely bright. In an instant, a purplish-black light shone from his right knee. At the location of the vortex, the power of thousands of small holes appeared in an instant. The powerful airflow activated the heroic soul, and an abnormally astonishing power rumbled. Wind escape, Lin Feng shouted. How could he not have a backup plan? It had already been half a year since the last time he used the wind escape, and his heroic spirit had already recovered. It was because of this life-saving trump card that he could be so fearless and confident in escaping. So, the moment the bright green light fell, Lin Feng turned into a gust of wind and flew away in a split second. A speed that was 100 times faster exploded in an instant, forming a sharp whistling sound that shocked all of the Gomang shaman tribe. Angry shouts rang out continuously. The leader of the Gomang shamans was on the brink of insanity. Again and again and again, he was like a clown being toyed with and applauded by a human. He had lost all face. Chase! Chase! Could he catch up? With a speed that was 100 times faster, Lin Feng had already escaped in an instant. Even if the leader of the Gomang shaman tribe was 10 times faster than him, In front of a speed that was 100 times faster, he could not withstand a single blow. In an instant, the feeling of his aura disappeared. That furious voice still lingered in his ears, but he had already completely left it behind. Lin Feng could not help but think of Duo. This wind vortex had already saved his life twice. Not only was it of great help to him in battle, but it was also second to none when it came to escaping. It was very practical. Just as Duo said, I will encounter endless dangers in the Do Ling world. Staying alive is definitely my #1 priority. Lin Feng smiled slightly. At this moment, his bloody body had already begun to recover. New skin and flesh were slowly growing, and his cells were constantly dividing and condensing. With the phoenix blood, he was like an unkillable phoenix. Even if it was a fatal injury, as long as he was still alive and had a breath left in him, he could be reborn. At this moment, the Lich's heart was absorbing the huge green blood droplet. It was in a state of excitement, and its chest was beating nonstop. Inexplicably, various scenes appeared in his mind. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide. He was actually seeing that statue. No, it was a real existence. Those bewitching eyes had a domineering aura that looked down on the world. Those huge wings were emitting an emerald green light, and the dragon under its feet seemed to be subdued. It was a living existence. The Gomang shaman tribe. Is this the energy contained in the green blood droplet? It can be transmitted directly to my mind through the Lich's heart. It's really powerful. He could completely feel the energy contained in the huge green blood droplet. It was shocking. If not for the mysterious Lich's heart, not only would his body not be able to absorb this energy, his meridians would also explode. But now, the Lich's heart had completely absorbed it. However, the huge green blood droplet contained too much energy. Even with the Lich's heart's mysteriousness, it could only slowly chew and digest it. Obviously, it could not be completed in a short period of time. Whoosh! His speed was 100 times faster. After sprinting for a while, Lin Feng gradually felt his body weakening. His right knee was a little numb, and the circulation of his meridians was in a restrained state. The eruption of his potential had forcefully overdrawn his body. Lin Feng bit his lips and persevered silently. Although using the wind escape technique was powerful, the after effects, it was also very powerful. Persevere for a while more. I have to put enough distance between us. After using the wind escape technique continuously, Lin Feng's face was already a little pale. He did not have enough qi and blood, and he was mentally and physically exhausted. But now he cannot collapse. The greater the distance, the longer the time, the further away he could be from the Gomang shaman tribe. And the safer he was. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Time passed by minute. Every second was a kind of perseverance, a kind of torture. Until, Black Swamp? Lin Feng's consciousness was a little blurry, but his eyes lit up slightly. He had actually passed through the entire purple swamp and arrived at the outermost area of the chaotic swamp. Whoosh! Lin Feng scuttled to a towering tree, using the shade of the tree to hide his body. At this moment, the space between his eyebrows shone, and the similarly weak wing was summoned again. He said miserably, "Boss, let me rest for a while more." Wing's voice was very pitiful. The battle with the Gomang shaman tribe had almost exhausted him. But now, there was nothing he could do. "I'll leave it to you, Wing," Lin Feng said weakly, and instantly lost his last bit of consciousness. Wing was still a little dazed, but he saw that Lin Feng's qi and blood were not enough. He was like a withered tree, completely unconscious. He immediately understood, but he did not say anything else. After signing a contract with Lin Feng and becoming a spiritual creature, he should listen to Lin Feng. Not to mention protection. Even if Lin Feng wanted his life, he would give it to him. The chaotic ridge was so big that it wasn't easy to find a single person. Moreover, with Lin Feng's craftiness, how could he be found by the Gomang shaman tribe? Hiding in this forest, his aura was completely concealed. With Wing's protection, Lin Feng was very safe. He slept for 3 days and 3 nights. He used all his strength to escape. The potential of the heroic spirit and the usage of the wind vortex had already reached their limits. Previously, with Dudua's help, he could recover in the Netherworld ship. But this time, he completely relied on his own body to recover. But it was also luck. Because of the existence of the phoenix blood, Lin Feng's body had already transformed. Otherwise, not to mention 3 days and 3 nights, he might not even wake up in 3 years. This, with a groan, Lin Feng's eyelashes moved slightly, and he slowly opened his eyes. What he saw was a patch of greenery, exactly the same as the scenery when he closed his eyes. Obviously, he had not been attacked while he was asleep. Struggling to get up, Lin Feng looked at Wing and smiled weakly. "Thank you, Wing." "You're welcome, boss." Wing's voice was a little helpless. "It's my duty. It's my duty." With that, he turned into a ray of light and returned to the flaming astral body. Compared to Lin Feng, Wing's injuries were more serious. However, the vitality of a wood spirit was indeed strong. As long as its roots were not broken, it could be reborn. Perhaps it would take a longer time, but its recovery speed was quite astonishing. Especially Wing, who was a product of mutation. Phew, Lin Feng exhaled deeply. His life spirit sensed the surroundings, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. His body was slightly weak, and a slight move would affect his entire body. Using the wind escape, he had forcefully exhausted his heroic spirit. His body was also under great pressure when he exploded with 100 times the speed. But, compared to the heroic spirit, it was only slightly weaker. "My right leg seems to be numb." Lin Feng shook his head. Although he had successfully escaped, the price he had paid was quite shocking. "I can only rely on the phoenix blood to recover slowly." Lin Feng thought to himself. He could feel his body recovering completely. The phoenix blood was indeed very powerful. It could even repair the damaged heroic spirit, but it would take a long time. But it did not matter. There were gains and losses. At least, he had escaped safely. Lin Feng was surprised. He pressed his left hand on his chest, but he could not feel the lich's heart beating. It was as if it had fallen asleep after absorbing the huge green blood drop. "There doesn't seem to be any changes?" Lin Feng frowned slightly. He had doubts in his heart. Logically speaking, how could there not be any changes after absorbing such an intense fluctuation? But he could not feel it at all. It was very strange. Forget it. Lin Feng shook his head. Since he could not figure it out, he would not think about it anymore. Everything would be fine. If there were any changes, he would be able to sense it sooner or later. Lin Feng jumped down from the treetops. His eyes were bright. "It's about time to return to Fengyang Valley." Lin Feng nodded. Although his body had not recovered, there was nothing in this black swamp that could threaten him. The chaotic swamp was always full of danger. Who knew if there would be another super hurricane? By then, it would be too late to cry. It would not be too late to think about it after returning to Fengyang Valley. "Urgent fire shuttle," Lin Feng called softly. In an instant, a fiery red light appeared. Lin Feng jumped on it. Like a rocket, he sped forward in an instant. Third update. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 419. Fengyang Valley. As usual. As time passed, Li Ming's incident gradually died down. Even Li Ming himself had slowly forgotten about this matter. In his opinion, Qi Yang, Qi Yu, and Xianer would not be able to escape. As for Lin Feng, although his strength was unknown, it was the chaotic swamp after all. Even his master was not fully confident, not to mention a young man who was only 20 years old. However, many things would always be unexpected. Whether it was Li Ming or Lin Feng, it was the same. The evening sky was a little dark. The sun was setting in the west, and the red glow was spreading across the sky. The beautiful scenery was a little sad, and the air was a little gloomy, making it hard for people to be excited. However, in Fengyang Valley, the martial arts field was still crowded. The practice of martial arts was not only in Fengyang Valley, but also in every sect and region. Other than the few disciples who were responsible for guarding Fengyang Valley, the rest of the disciples were all working hard and cultivating. Who did not want to be successful? Who did not want to be at the top? Senior Brother Li is so powerful in this selection. That is to say, even Senior Sister Ding lost to him in 3 moves. You don't know, right? Senior Brother Li went to the chaotic swamp this time and made a big breakthrough. Really? Outside the Fengyang Valley, the disciples who were guarding the entrance were having a heated discussion. Not long ago, the annual selection had just ended, and Li Ming's performance had made all the disciples gasp in amazement. If Senior Brother Wang Feng was here, he might be able to exchange a few moves with Senior Brother Li. Don't talk about it. He is already dead. If Senior Brother Li hears about it, he will be sad. Hey, Senior Brother Li is still here? Isn't he going to Green Smoke City to participate in this year's elite martial arts competition? Uncle Master Hai and Senior Sister Ding have already left. Senior Brother Li seems to be staying for 2 more days. I heard that the sect leader is going to tutor him. Everyone was chatting happily. Suddenly, a disciple with a sword looked up and saw a figure approaching from afar. His eyes widened. Even the disciple with a sword looked up in surprise when he touched the back of his hand. He followed the gaze and widened his eyes. He is Lin Feng. Lin Feng is back. Everyone's expression changed drastically, as if they were facing a great enemy. Lin Feng exclaimed softly, his gaze focused. Looking ahead, he saw the gazes of the disciples, and his heart clenched slightly. It seemed very unfriendly. What happened? Lin Feng furrowed his brows, his eyes glistening. His steps were like that of a dragon or a tiger, and his breathing was slow and long. Facing such a situation, Lin Feng had a faint bad premonition. Quick, let's go. The executioner is back. Quickly inform the sect leader. The disciples guarding the entrance were like mice that had seen a cat. They came back to their senses and fled as fast as they could. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace, causing Lin Feng to be slightly surprised. Those words echoed in his ears, and a faint light flashed in his eyes. Executioner? Lin Feng muttered softly. He was no longer a young and inexperienced child who knew nothing. In such a situation, everyone knew what was going to happen. Moreover, it was definitely against him. Could it be? Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he could not help but clench his fists. Other than that, he could not think of any other possibility. Interesting. I like to see what tricks you have up your sleeves. Lin Feng's lips curled into a cold smile, and he strode in with his head held high. He dared to enter a dragon's lair and a tiger's den, let alone a mere Fengyang Valley. Although the current situation was unfavorable to him, he would be a coward if he turned around and left. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. He did not believe in heresy. In Fengyang Hall, the sect leader, Ding Hong, was explaining something to Li Ming. The latter nodded from time to time with a serious expression. At this moment, there was a loud commotion outside, and the two of them immediately raised their heads, full of doubts. A middle-aged man hurried in from outside the door and cupped his hands. Sect leader Lin Feng is back. What? Ding Hong's eyes darkened, and Li Ming's expression changed. The two of them had different reactions. Ding Hong waved his hand, and the middle-aged man immediately left. That Lin Feng dares to come back? Ding Hong frowned. Lin Feng let Li Ming escape. Logically speaking, he should. Thinking, Ding Hong looked at Li Ming. Instantly, Li Ming's expression changed, and he said hurriedly, Sect leader, that Lin Feng doesn't know that I'm still alive. If he knows, he will try to take my life. You've reached the star sea level, but you're still not his match? Ding Hong was extremely surprised. Well, Li Ming shook his head hesitantly. I don't know. That Lin Feng's methods are very unpredictable. Ding Hong grunted. His eyes changed slightly, and he fell in a deep thought. Li Ming's eyes kept rolling, and he was extremely anxious. He had never thought that Lin Feng would come out alive. Suddenly, he remembered what the middle-aged man said, and his eyes brightened. He only said that Lin Feng had come back, but he didn't say anything about Xian Air and the other two. So, in that instant, Li Ming came up with a plan and said, "Sect leader, you don't know, but that Lin Feng is quite powerful. In a short period of time after sneaking into my Fengyang Valley, he has already secretly learned my Fengyang Valley's unique skill, the Sun Dragon Spear Art." "What?" Ding Hong's eyes widened. "You said Lin Feng learned the Sun Dragon Spear Art? Impossible. How'd he learn it?" "Well, I don't know." Li Ming's eyes changed, and he quickly changed the topic. "But there's one thing I'm sure of. This Lin Feng must be sent by other sections. He has evil intentions." Ding Hong nodded thoughtfully and said, "You said he's only at the 7th level of the Star River level?" "Yes," Li Ming answered immediately. "But he can use a strange flame. It's very powerful." "Flame?" Ding Hong said softly. "Oh, so he's the martial god. Let's go take a look." Ding Hong stood up. His burly body exuded a powerful aura. "Master, I'm afraid." Li Ming looked hesitant. He had always been afraid of Lin Feng. There was one thing he didn't say, and that was that the green-brown sex Star Sea level expert, Old Crane, had died in Lin Feng's hands. He had just reached the Star Sea level. How could he be Lin Feng's opponent? "With me here, that Lin Feng won't be able to touch a single hair on your head." Ding Hong's eyes were bright, and he was extremely confident. "Yes, master." Li Ming immediately beamed with joy. Inside Fengyang Valley, it was a grand scene. With Lin Feng's return, the entire Fengyang Valley was in an uproar. Thousands of disciples gathered from all directions and squeezed in front of Fengyang Temple. Everyone's face was filled with anger. One's glory, one's loss, all's loss. Lin Feng was the enemy of the entire Fengyang Valley. Traitor, scum, executioner. The disciples cursed angrily, and their saliva flew everywhere. Lin Feng walked in slowly, unhurriedly. His calm expression showed no signs of panic. As he looked at the chaotic scene, all kinds of angry shouts rang in his ears. The whole thing was pieced together, and it was like a clear spring. At this moment, it was almost completely formed in his mind. "What a good way to frame the victim," Lin Feng said softly. This Li Ming was indeed very cunning. In order to cover up his crime, he had turned the tables and framed Ding Ning. "You big villain!" A delicate voice suddenly rang out. From the crowd, a yellow-clothed woman wielding a sharp sword pierced through the crowd. Her beautiful face was filled with anger. Like a little lioness, she leaped forward and attacked in an instant. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He didn't want to fight, but the yellow-clothed woman's momentum was extremely fierce. She had the heart to destroy everything, and her killing intent was fully revealed. The surrounding disciples of Fengyang Valley couldn't stop her. They watched as the yellow-clothed woman attacked Lin Feng alone. Suddenly, bang! The nightmare demon's spear was unsheathed. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. Although his body hadn't fully recovered, it was effortless for him to deal with such a mentally retarded woman. Facing the attack, Lin Feng lightly stepped out with his left foot. The heroic soul was damaged, and the wind vortex hadn't recovered its battle strength. Lin Feng's right foot wasn't very agile at this moment. However, this didn't affect his spear art. In terms of spear control, Lin Feng was already familiar with it. His spear art had reached the realm of returning to its original state. So what if his body was limited? Gentle breeze. Lin Feng raised his spear and swung it down. The spear intent was fully displayed. A gentle breeze swept past and landed in front of her. A faint black fog came out from her heart. The yellow-clothed woman's expression changed drastically, and her body staggered. Suddenly, bang! There was a huge shock. Her wrist lost its strength. The yellow-clothed woman groaned and retreated. At this moment, Lin Feng saw the stubbornness in her eyes. He sighed in his heart. A protective chi appeared in his left hand, and a hidden force blasted out. Bang! It landed on her lower abdomen. The yellow-clothed woman's internal organs churned. She fell back like a kite with a broken string, and she vomited blood. However, Lin Feng had already held back. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as being injured. However, this instantly ignited the anger of the disciples of Fengyang Valley. 3 disciples in martial attire rushed out of the crowd. Each of them had a spear that was unusually sharp. Spear against spear. In terms of aura, the 3 spear-wielding disciples were superior to the yellow-clothed woman. Fengyang Valley spear sects 3 heroes. Their strength had reached level 7 galaxy level, which was above Qi Yang and Qi Yu. Qi, Qi, Qi. The 3 spears formed a formation and surrounded Lin Feng. So troublesome. A sharp light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. At this moment, he didn't hold back anymore. There were endless battles. How long would it take to fight? Killing the chicken to warn the monkey. If he held back, he was afraid that he would be treated as a sick cat that could be bullied by others. Emperor Shun's protective chi. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. An extremely strong aura burst out instantly. The nightmare spear swept across with a shrill sound. The fiery red spear emitted an astonishing aura. A thick black fog appeared instantly, and a shadow of the spear appeared in his mind. In a split second, Lin Feng moved. Like a dragon swimming in the sky, his movements were refined and courageous. Dragon Sun Spear Art, Lin Feng shouted. The nightmare spear was like a dragon, opening its bloody mouth. The surging spear intent was completely undulating. Facing 3 mere level 7 galaxy level disciples, Lin Feng didn't even have the qualifications to practice. Bang! The spear was split open. The 3 disciples of the spear sect were immediately seriously injured and fell to the ground. The surroundings were quiet, and there was no sound. What a good Sun Dragon spear art! A voice filled with anger suddenly rang out. The disciples of Fengyang Valley opened up a path for him. Lin Feng looked over slowly and saw a white-haired man walking over with his head held high. He had a dignified aura about him. Sect Leader Ding Hong. 4th update. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 420. Are you Lin Feng? Ding Hong's eyes were filled with a cold light. Who are you? Lin Feng stood with his spear in his hand, neither servile nor overbearing. Humph! How pretentious! Li Ming stood up behind Ding Hong and sneered. Don't tell me you don't even know Sect Leader Ding. Li Ming. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he looked at Li Ming's despicable face. He didn't need to ask to know what had happened. Bang! The nightmare demon's spear vibrated, and a faint murderous intent appeared in Lin Feng's eyes. It was the scum before him who had killed Wang Feng and framed him as a traitor. What? You failed to kill me last time, and now you want to kill me in front of everyone? With Ding Hong as his backer, Li Ming was not afraid at all. However, he was also very careful. He stood behind Ding Hong, as if he was afraid that Lin Feng would suddenly attack him. As soon as he said that, the disciples of Fengyang Valley started to curse him. Lin Feng, how dare you? Ding Hong shouted in a deep voice, his voice filled with anger. Sect Leader, this is not what Li Ming said. Lin Feng looked serious. Then what is it? Ding Hong's eyes lit up. Master, don't listen to this bastard's nonsense. Li Ming's expression changed instantly. However, Ding Hong raised his right hand and stopped him. Ding Hong stared at Lin Feng and said slowly, Speak. Lin Feng looked at Li Ming with a murderous look. He pointed at him and said, Li Ming is the one who killed Wang Feng. Li Ming's voice was firm, and the crowd was in an uproar. Li Ming's expression changed. Lin Feng, don't slander me. Wang Feng and I are as close as brothers. How could I harm him? You killed Wang Feng and killed Qi Yang, Qi Yu, and Xian. Why are you still talking nonsense? You are shameless. The crowd was in an uproar. Ding Hong's eyes darkened. However, Lin Feng said slowly, the Qi siblings and Xian are not dead. As his voice faded, everyone quieted down. Li Ming staggered. He rolled his eyes and screamed, You're talking nonsense. If they're not dead, then where are they now? Lin Feng's expression didn't change. I'm still in the chaotic swamp. Well said, Li Ming sneered. If they're not dead, why didn't they come back with you? You can't even lie better. Lin Feng frowned. They're trapped inside. Where are they trapped? Ding Hong frowned. Lin Feng hesitated for a moment, shook his head, and did not say anything. Even if he did, it would be useless because there was no way he could enter. The Gomang shaman tribe was probably already enraged, and whoever went in would die. Even for himself, it was the same. You can't make it up, can you? Li Ming sneered. You killed them, but you're still pretending to be righteous. You're shameless. Then Li Ming cupped his hands and said to Ding Hong, Master, don't listen to this scoundrel. Kill him and avenge junior sister Xian. That's right, kill him. Avenge senior brother Wang. Avenge junior sister Xian. For a moment, all the disciples were shouting angrily. Although they each had their own version of the story, Li Ming's words were deeply ingrained in their hearts. Moreover, Lin Feng was just an outsider. Lin Feng, right? Ding Hong heaved a sigh of relief. His eyes darkened. I want to believe you, but you have no evidence. It's hard to accept. What makes me even more curious is, how did you steal the Sun Dragon spear art? Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He could hear the angry voices of the Wind Rise Valley disciples. He sighed. He knew that he would not be able to clear his name today. Could he tell Ding Hong that he had stolen the Sun Dragon spear art from Wang Feng? That he had comprehended the spear intent from the wooden carving? Who would believe him? Lin Feng shook his head as he looked at the pairs of eyes filled with jealousy and hatred and felt the surging anger. He looked at Li Ming with a deep gaze, which made the latter's hair stand on end. Lin Feng said slowly, People who walk different paths can't make plans together. Since you don't believe me, there's no need to force yourself. The truth will come out one day. Lin Feng turned around and was about to leave. It was useless to say more. The situation was out of his control. The wind was blowing in Li Ming's favor. When he brought Xian, and the others back, he would know who was right and who was wrong. There was no need to rush. Little brother, you come and go as you please. You're looking down on the Wind Rise Valley, aren't you? Ding Hong said calmly. His aura surged wildly, and his sharp eyes were filled with a cold, murderous intent. Lin Feng stopped in his tracks. What do you want, sect leader Ding? Lin Feng's voice did not change, and his expression was calm. You keep saying that you didn't kill my disciples. I'll believe you, Ding Hong said slowly. Master, Li Ming said anxiously, but Ding Hong raised his hand to stop him. Ding Hong said in a deep voice, but it's an indisputable fact that you secretly learned the Sun Dragon spear art of Fengyang Valley. If I don't destroy you today, how can Fengyang Valley establish itself in Green Smoke City? His voice was like thunder. Ding Hong's surging aura caused the atmosphere to reach its peak. All the disciples of Wind, Rise, Gorge shouted madly, and they were filled with a sense of extreme pleasure. On the other hand, a gloomy expression flashed within Li Ming's eyes. As long as Master made a move, no matter how strong Lin Feng was, he would be dead. By then, there would be no evidence, and no one would suspect him. Yes, destroy this kind of scum, Master. Li Ming shouted angrily. Cripple him, sect leader. Wave after wave of voices came from all around, surging over like waves. Lin Feng had become the public enemy of the entire Wind Rise Valley. Everyone hated him to the core. However, surrounded by enemies, Lin Feng's expression did not change. In fact, from the moment he entered Wind Rise Valley, he had already expected this worst outcome. But so what? Even if he was condemned by thousands, his heart would not waver. Even if there were hundreds of millions of enemies, he would treat them like ants. Nothing would be able to affect him. As long as his heart was firm and determined, everything would be fine was not important. Sect leader Ding. Lin Feng turned around, his expression still calm. He glanced at Li Ming with a hint of contempt. Lin Feng looked straight at Ding Hong and said slowly, If you insist on doing this, you will regret it. His voice was not loud, but stunned everyone, including Ding Hong. Ha! Ha! Laughter came from all around. Instantly, it became a roar of laughter, as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Every disciple of Wind Rise Valley was holding their stomachs, overjoyed. A little guy who was not even fully grown dared to talk nonsense in front of their sect leader, a third-stage Star C-State powerhouse. Who does he think he is? How can he be so arrogant? Don't say that. His courage is commendable, haha. You only know how to talk fast. The sect leader can destroy you with one hand. Go to hell, scum. Shameless boasting. I'll see how you die later. The people from Fengyang Valley continued to mock Lin Feng as they looked at him with disdain. Could he defeat the sect leader? This was the biggest joke in the world. Even Ding Hong himself shook his head, the corners of his mouth curling upwards. He did not know if he was amused or speechless at Lin Feng's ignorance and fearlessness. Then I'd like to try. Ding Hong mocked himself in surprise. Ding Hong, would really like to have a taste of the word regret. As he spoke, a ray of light as white as jade appeared in an instant, bringing out a slender long spear in high spirits. Holding the white jade spear in his hand, Ding Hong's arrogance instantly reached its peak, and a fierce battle intent appeared in his eyes. The spear's name is White Python. Bang! Lin Feng raised the nightmare demon spear with one hand, but he did not move at all. His eyes sparkled, but Lin Feng's battle intent was also boiling. Ever since he came to this Douling world, he had never had a good fight with a spear user. Now he got what he wanted. Nightmare Demon Spear. Lin Feng's left hand swept across the spear body. The smooth lines were filled with extreme toughness and smoothness. Looking at the spear in Lin Feng's hand, Ding Hong's eyes revealed a hint of envy. With his experience, he could see that the spear in Lin Feng's hand was many times more precious than his white python spear. There was no comparison at all. But strength did not depend on the quality of the spear. It depended on the strength of the spear user. Who was stronger? Rise. The vigorous energy exploded, and Ding Hong's aura instantly climbed to the peak. The disciples of Wind Rise Valley hurriedly retreated, and so did Li Ming. His eyes were filled with the joy of his scheme succeeding, and he landed on the side with a cold smile. He was very confident in his master. Compared to Old Crane's level 1-star C-level strength, his master was much stronger. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Moreover, in terms of spear skills and spear intent, how could Lin Feng compare to his master, who had immersed himself in spear skills for hundreds of years? It was like hitting a rock with an egg. He would definitely win, as long as master cripples Lin Feng. Then killing Lin Feng. Li Ming's eyes deepened, and he clenched his right fist. Will be easy. Having made up his mind, Li Ming looked at Lin Feng with confidence. However, he saw a pair of deep eyes that were extremely calm, and he felt a chill in his heart. The scenes in the chaotic swamp appeared in his mind. This young man, who was younger than him, seemed to have endless secrets that he could not see through at all. Master won't lose, right? Li Ming inexplicably had this thought, which shocked even himself. No, it's impossible. Li Ming's mouth twitched, and he comforted himself. Master will definitely win, definitely. At this moment, as the people of Wind Rise Valley spread out, a huge empty space was formed. Lin Feng and Ding Hong's eyes met. His expression was still calm, even though his opponent's aura was much stronger than his. But he had absolute confidence. A mere level 3-star, C-level war god was nothing to him. Bang! The nightmare demon's spear shook violently, and Lin Feng's eyes were as bright as stars. Fight! Tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. The explosion will continue. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 421. The battle began. Longyang's spear art. Ding Hong's eyes lit up, and his actions were decisive and concise. The white python spear in his hand was like a white python twisting its body. With a simple step, It was as fast as a meteor. The spear intent appeared, and the sound of the spear was extremely loud. Good. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was boiling. The nightmare demon spear in his hand drew a lightning-like arc and struck out instantly. The same spear art, the same spear intent, in the hands of different people showed different feelings. It was like a picture scroll. Everyone saw different things. Ding Hong's spear was very steady, just like his character, steady with a bit of domineering. On the other hand, Lin Feng's spear was as sharp as a newborn calf. He did not give in at all. Chi, chi. The two spear lights, one fast and one slow. The surrounding disciples of Fengyang Valley widened their eyes and held their breaths. It was rare to be able to watch the sect leader fight at such a close distance. A head-on collision, Ding Hong was slightly surprised. His strength was originally better than Lin Feng. Although the first shot was a test, he had the advantage of grasping the opportunity. Although it was only 50% of his strength, it was better than Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng did not avoid or give in. Instead, he faced the wind, which was extremely strange. Soon, Ding Hong knew the reason. Whoosh! A black fog appeared. Almost in an instant, Ding Hong's expression changed. Heavy pressure condensed from all directions, as if he was trapped in a quagmire. Ding Hong's eyes were bright, and his expression instantly became dignified. Spiritual treasure. Ding Hong gritted his teeth. With such power, it is at least a 4-star spiritual treasure. At this moment, Lin Feng's speed suddenly increased. With the addition of the black fog, it was a sharp contrast to Ding Hong. Ding Hong's heart was beating fast. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and he felt short of breath. This black fog can even increase his speed? It is at least a 6-star spiritual treasure. Ding Hong was completely shocked. In Fengyang Valley, who had more experience than Ding Hong. Just after the battle, he deeply discovered Lin Feng's secret and was very tempted. What kind of value is a spirit treasure that was at least 6 stars? In Greensmoke City, they couldn't even be seen. Hua! Ding Hong's eyes were extremely bright and bright. He seemed to have decided on something, and the aura energy around his body was extremely intense. At this moment, he no longer concealed his own strength. All of his strength instantly exploded, bringing with it an extremely intense, killing intent. The white python spear spat out its scarlet tongue. Pung! The spear tips collided. The shocking collision of power caused Lin Feng's chest to churn. The Sun Dragon spear art was a spear art of extreme yang. The spear intent was like a flood dragon emerging from the sea, advancing courageously. If he retreated, it would be difficult for him to unleash his full potential. Although Ding Hong started later, he managed to gain an advantage in the first test. Although he was startled by Lin Feng's physical strength, now was not the time to consider this. Taking a big stride forward, a powerful force burst forth. The white python spear was as fast as the wind, and the spear intent was displayed perfectly. Compared to the previous time when he held back, this time, Ding Hong was truly going all out. It was like the roar of a dragon, ferocious and powerful. But it's only SOSO. Lin Feng's expression was calm. Ding Hong's spear art wasn't much stronger than his. In terms of spear intent comprehension, they were about the same. What he lost was his strength, not his spear art. Although the benefits of dual cultivation were unparalleled, the gap between the cosmic river and cosmic sea states was too big. Perhaps he was comparable to a cosmic sea state level 1 expert, but Ding Hong's strength was above cosmic sea state level 3, which was more than 4 times that of a cosmic sea state level 1. The black fog's effect increased and decreased, although it caused their speed to decrease, but the power, it was different. What a pity. Lin Feng shook his head, his expression still calm. He was at a disadvantage, but it was only temporary. If Ding Hong's strength stopped here, then it's over. Lin Feng's eyes instantly lit up. The black fog's appearance reduced the speed of both sides to the extreme. Ding Hong didn't care at all. He channeled all of his strength, and the sharp spear intent and killing intent surged. The extreme yang spear completely controlled the surrounding environment. It was as fast as a meteor, extremely fierce and explosive. Kill him. Sect leader is so powerful. Avenge senior brother Wang. The surrounding disciples all cheered in unison. Seeing the sect leader's might, they were very excited. In their eyes, Lin Feng, who was at a disadvantage, was a dead end. Defeat was only a matter of time. But battles were always changing in the blink of an eye. No one could guess the final result. Many things couldn't be decided by thinking. Space deceleration. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The heaven and earth qi formed a spiral shape, and the qi surged out crazily. A shocking qi flame suddenly exploded in the center of Ding Hong's body. The surrounding was filled with endless magnetic field power, instantly trapping Ding Hong, causing his expression to change instantly. No, Ding Hong's expression changed drastically. At this moment, he couldn't care about hiding his strength anymore. Ding Hong's eyes changed drastically, and his hair stood on end. A shocking amount of heaven and earth qi surged over. It was even denser than Lin Feng's. A red light surrounded Ding Hong's body, and a majestic power erupted from his heart. Star power! Ding Hong roared. His body seemed to expand instantly, and his muscles became extremely strong. The bright red light surrounded his body, bringing with it a lightning-like magnetic force. It was very similar to Lin Feng's space deceleration. It was the most fundamental composition of heaven and earth, time, space, force, spirit. The explosion of force. The qi became stronger. The red light wrapped around Ding Hong, causing his body to improve in all aspects instantly. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. Although he was surprised, he didn't panic. Any martial artist would have a trump card. However, it's too late. Lin Feng was like a ghost in the black fog. In an instant, he drew a semicircle, and his figure became extremely mysterious. The space deceleration's effect was fully exerted, restricting Ding Hong's speed. Even if he used his star power, it was useless. Coupled with the increase and decrease of the black fog, his speed was instantly faster than Ding Hong's. With such an advantage, how could he not make good use of it? No matter how strong his power was, no matter how explosive it was it useful? When one's speed was limited, when one's spear technique was inferior, it seemed that Ding Hong was doomed to lose. Sun Dragon Spear Art. Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning. His strange figure dodged Ding Hong's counterattack. The Nightmare Devil Spear was like a soaring dragon, tearing through the sky with astonishing momentum as it madly attacked. It fell directly on Ding Hong's back. Lin Feng had the absolute advantage. At this moment, Ding Hong was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Hiss! Everyone sucked in their breaths. They were dumbfounded. They didn't expect the situation to change so drastically in just a blink of an eye. Everyone's breathing became hurried, and their hearts beat faster. The development of the battle was far beyond their expectations, especially Li Ming. His face was sallow, and he couldn't look any worse. The situation had changed too fast. It's not that easy to win. Ding Hong's eyes brightened, and he gritted his teeth. Although his speed was limited, his movement wasn't slow. The spear intent changed dramatically, bringing with it a fierce gust of wind. The surging spear intent burst out completely at this moment. Ding Hong's eyes were like lightning. Sun Dragon Spear Art. Second Spear Art. The white python's spear shook violently, and Ding Hong shouted angrily. If the first spear was like a flood dragon coming out of the sea, then the second spear was like a flood dragon surging. It was more entangled and domineering. It was the same kind of extreme yang, but the spear intent contained in it was completely superior to the first spear. This is... Lin Feng's eyes widened. Seeing Ding Hong's spear move, his eyes shone brightly. The spear intent entered his heart. Ding Hong's movements seemed to become extremely slow. It kept repeating in his eyes, and there was a figure dancing in his mind. At this moment, Lin Feng's heart pounded. He was inexplicably excited. The second spear. It was the spear intent of the second wooden sculpture. In an instant, he completely understood. It was as if the clouds of dawn had opened. It arrived in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng woke up instantly. His eyes narrowed. The nightmare demon spear and the white python spear clashed, and a bright light burst out. Ding Hong's spear was extremely fierce. The spear intent was far stronger than the first spear. But let's end this. Lin Feng's eyes shone. A fiery red light shone. Bang! The fire was ferocious. The power of the rebirth flame was fully displayed. Like a demon's eyes, the fire passed through the nightmare demon spear, perfectly transmitting its power. No, this is... Ding Hong's expression changed. At this moment, he finally remembered that Li Ming had told him that Lin Feng knew how to use a strange flame. But it was too late. The power of the rebirth flame combined with the spear intent completely erupted. Ding Hong, who could barely resist and not use all his power, felt a monstrous attack. It was as if the thunder god had descended. The white python spear wanted to entangle the nightmare demon spear. However, the entanglement was instantly destroyed by the fierce fire. The extremely sharp light brought with it a raging fire. At this moment, it suddenly exploded. Chi! The clear and crisp sound caused the entire place to fall into complete silence. Lin Feng's spear pierced the right side of Ding Hong's chest. Blood splattered. The bright red color was even more dazzling under the setting sun. Everyone's expression was filled with shock and disbelief. Their mouths were wide open, and they could not close them for a long time. Ding Hong was defeated. It was a complete and utter defeat. It can't be? Sect leader lost? Oh my God, is this true? Everyone in Fengyang Valley seemed to have stopped breathing. Their minds were in a mess. It was a duel without any suspense. However, the result was completely out of their expectations. No one expected that the winner would be Lin Feng. Furthermore, he won so cleanly, so powerful, so terrifying. Lin Feng held the spear with one hand and pointed it at Ding Hong's neck. He looked down at him calmly. If he wanted to, he could have killed Ding Hong with that spear. But there was no need. The battle with Ding Hong started with a misunderstanding and instigation. From a standpoint of the sect leader, there was nothing wrong with what he did. The initiator was not him, but Li Ming. Lin Feng's eyes widened. He shifted his gaze and saw the panic-stricken face looking back at him with fear and shock. He was timid. 6th update, brothers and sisters. Where's the promotion? Give Xiao Xiao a few monthly votes. Let's continue tomorrow. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 422. Murderous intent appeared. Lin Feng's eyes turned blood red. Now that the old hatred had been added together, he no longer had any mercy for Li Ming. Some people were born with the heart of a wolf and scorpion. They were in the same team back then, and he still cared about their friendship. But now, all the grudges were gathered together. They would not stop until one of them died. Boom! The solitary flame exploded as the nightmare spear in Lin Feng's hand shook violently. With an ear-piercing sound, Lin Feng shot up like a sharp arrow, heading straight for Li Ming. Although Li Ming's chi was much stronger than when he was in the chaotic swamp, so what? Even if Li Ming was 10 times stronger, he was still an ant. Dragon Sun Spear Art. Lin Feng stepped out with his left foot. Without the help of the wind whirlpool and the support of his right foot, he was not in his best state. But he could even defeat Ding Hong, who was a level 3 cosmic state, not to mention Li Ming, who had just reached the cosmic state. Just one move was enough to kill him. No, Li Ming said in a panic. Help! Li Ming shouted shamelessly. Instantly, the people of Rising Wind Valley who were still in a daze came back to their senses. Seeing how arrogant Lin Feng was, not only did he seriously injure the sect leader, he even dared to start a massacre in Fengyang Valley. Everyone was furious. At this moment, how dare you? Stop! Boom! Boom! Bursts of explosive sounds rang out. The powerful people of Fengyang Valley immediately attacked. Two figures were full of shocking chi, but Lin Feng ignored them. There was only Li Ming in front of him. He deserved to die. Go to hell. Lin Feng's spear was like a shooting star. The fiery red light condensed into a frenzy. The explosion of Emperor Shun's energy led to the explosion of the fire of rebirth. The black mist blocked all of Li Ming's escape routes. He would not be given any chance. There was only the road to the underworld. Astral power. Li Ming gritted his teeth. His body expanded instantly. Red flames covered his entire body, sparkling brightly. Just like Ding Hong, Lin Feng narrowed his eyes as if he had understood something. However, he did not slow down in the slightest. The tip of the spear pierced through the air. The flames of rebirth were already boiling. Like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, it slashed down with a loud bang. Strength versus strength. The power of the rebirth flame could even break a level 3 cosmic sea state. Not to mention a level 1 cosmic sea state. Bang! Almost instantly, the nightmare demon spear broke through Li Ming's longsword. There was no suspense at all. The Sun Dragon spear art was unyielding, and the spear intent was awe-inspiring, like a flood dragon emerging from the sea. Coupled with the flame of rebirth, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Kill! Unlike before, Lin Feng's spear's fighting intent had completely transformed into killing intent. Lin Feng turned into a killing god. Although he was surrounded by enemies, he was fearless. Like an army of thousands of men and horses, he went straight for Li Ming. However, Li Ming wasn't easy to deal with. Li Ming gritted his teeth and shouted, "Soul technique, golden double." In an instant, a golden light appeared in front of Li Ming. It was like a golden statue of Li Ming. It was extremely strange. The two seemed to be glued together, and they were quite close. The golden light was dazzling, and its defensive power was shocking. It was exactly the same as the wind escape. Break! Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning, deep and bright. The fiery red flames instantly pierced through the golden Li Ming, and he felt an extremely strong defensive power. It's actually on par with Ding Hong's defensive power. Lin Feng was shocked, but he didn't stop attacking. The power of the flame of rebirth was completely unleashed in an instant. The spear tip pierced through the golden double and spun violently, bringing out a spiral of energy explosion, maximizing the power of the flame of rebirth. Rumble! With a shocking sound, the golden double was instantly torn into pieces. Li Ming spat out blood, and he was heavily injured. However, during this period of time, he had retreated into the crowd. He had gained some space. If they were on the open ground, Li Ming would only be slowed down a little and catch his breath. But now, in Fengyang Valley, this little bit of time was enough for him to escape danger and escape death. Chi! Chi! The sound of something breaking through the air was shocking. Two middle-aged men, one on the left and one on the right, were holding battle swords in their hands. Their faces were full of anger, and their strength was boiling. They were fully unleashing their star sea-level strength. The three elders of Fengyang Valley were Hao Wucheng and Luo Yi. The sect leader was defeated in public, which was a great humiliation. If the successor of the sect leader was killed in public, Fengyang Valley would lose face, and they wouldn't be able to establish themselves in Green Smoke City in the future. After all, the enemy was only a young man in his 20s. To protect their dignity, they had to attack. The sharp blade wind was painful to the bone. Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and a black mist appeared. The extremely strong wave restriction created a speed reduction zone. The power of the black mist in close combat was fully displayed. Gentle breeze blow. Lin Feng's spear body spun, bringing with it a ferocious flame. In terms of attack power, Gentle Breeze Blow was far inferior to Sun Dragon Spear Art, not to mention Cold Wind Rise. But it was the fastest spear move, only using 30% of his strength. It was extremely fast hand to fist. When the spear technique reached a certain level, it was like an extension of both hands, without stopping. Most importantly, With the rebirth flame, the power was only slightly inferior to Sun Dragon Spear Art. Spear intent was not as good, but the pure power was enough. Pung, pung. After 2 consecutive strikes, Hao Wuchang and Luo Yi felt a scorching force hit their hearts and lungs, and they almost lost their grip on their swords. The strength of the two was almost on par with Old Crane. Previously, Lin Feng could kill Old Crane with 1 strike. Now, he could easily kill the 2 of them. Even Lin Feng looked around. There were many pairs of faces looking at him with hatred and fear. No one dared to make a move. Lin Feng's strength had completely shocked the people of Fengyang Valley. He defeated sect leader Ding Hong fiercely and forced the 2 elders to retreat with 1 strike. What kind of strength was that? What a pity! Lin Feng looked sideways. At this time, Li Ming had already hidden in the crowd. He was very cunning. If he wanted to kill him, it would be equivalent to declaring war on the entire Fengyang Valley. Perhaps, with his strength, if the rebirth flame was completely unleashed, it would only take a moment to massacre the entire Fengyang Valley. But he would really become an executioner. Forget it. The truth will come out eventually. There's no hurry to kill Li Ming. Let him live for a while. Lin Feng pondered. No matter what, he had lived in Fengyang Valley for a while. Moreover, Senior Hai and Xian Er were very good to him, and Qi Yang and Qi Yu had gone through life and death together. As the saying goes, even if you don't give the monk face, you have to give the Buddha face. No matter what, he could not be so heartless and massacre the entire Fengyang Valley. How would he explain it to Xian Er and the rest? Seeing Lin Feng's constantly changing expression, the people of Fengyang Valley felt uneasy. The strength displayed by the young man in front of them was extremely terrifying. Although they had a large number of people, they were like a mob that could not withstand a single blow. All the joys and sorrows of life entered their hearts. Ding Hong, in particular, had lost all his face. You will regret it. A faint sentence appeared in his mind, causing Ding Hong's old face to turn red. If Lin Feng had not shown mercy, he would have been a corpse by now. Fengyang Valley had become a joke. Hao Wuchang and Luo Yi were not seriously injured. They struggled to stand up and looked at Lin Feng with fear. They only knew Lin Feng's true strength after exchanging blows with him. That terrifying flame went straight to the bottom of their hearts, as if it wanted to burn their souls to ashes. It was a crushing defeat. Wow! Lin Feng glanced at Li Ming, who was in the crowd, with a cold glint in his eyes. Feeling that murderous gaze, Li Ming did not even dare to raise his head. His heart was beating extremely fast, and his limbs were trembling. What he was most afraid of was that Lin Feng would not care about anything and start a killing spree. If that happened, it would be really troublesome. He was a jinx. However, Lin Feng obviously would not do that. Let's forget about today's matter. Lin Feng looked at Ding Hong and said slowly, "We will see who is right and who is wrong in the future." His fate with Fengyang Valley was greater than his enmity with them. There was no need for him to be ruthless and harm others without benefiting himself. When he brought Xian Er and the rest out in the future, the truth would naturally come to light. At that time, it would not be too late to settle the scores. Sect leader, I hope you will investigate this matter carefully and not be instigated by a villain. As he spoke, Lin Feng glanced at Li Ming. Although he did not say anything, the meaning behind his words was clear to anyone who was paying attention. Ding Hong's expression changed continuously. At this moment, his heart felt like it was tangled up by silk threads, and he was extremely conflicted. At that moment, he was faced with 2 choices. One was to keep Lin Feng and use the power of the entire sect to fight to the death. The other was to let Lin Feng go. However, Fengyang Valley would lose all its face. If word got out, they would become a laughingstock. However, no matter which choice he made, the consequences were quite serious. What should he do? What should he do? Ding Hong gritted his teeth. He did not expect things to turn out this way. Lin Feng in front of him was terrifyingly powerful. In fact, Ding Hong felt that he was calm and confident, as if he was really confident that he could escape unscathed from the encirclement of the entire Fengyang Valley. Should he take the gamble? The scales in Ding Hong's heart kept tilting, and the look in his eyes changed greatly. The degree of danger was extremely high. Lin Feng looked at Ding Hong indifferently. He knew why Ding Hong was in a dilemma, but his expression was calm. If Ding Hong really insisted on keeping him, then don't blame me for being merciless. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He did not want to cause trouble. However, if trouble came to him, he would definitely not run away. If others advanced a foot, he would advance 10 feet. He had given Fengyang Valley and Ding Hong a way out. If they did not cherish it, who could they blame? He was never afraid of killing. Wow. Lin Feng turned and left, ignoring the countless hostile looks around him. Ding Hong's expression kept changing, but a faint voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Don't do anything that you will regret. The voice was very calm, but it was domineering. Ding Hong raised his head and looked at Lin Feng's back as he left. His chest rose and fell. Sect Master! Sect Master! Hao Wuchang and Luo, he shouted. The faces of the Fengyang Valley disciples were pale, and a deep sense of humiliation flashed in their eyes. However, Ding Hong pursed his lips tightly and did not say a word. His deep gaze looked at the figure gradually leaving. He did not say a word and slowly closed his eyes. He could not afford to lose. Chapter 423. After leaving Fengyang Valley, Lin Feng looked indifferent. This was the place where he left his first memory in Douling World. People had to look forward, and the road had to be walked forward. Everything seemed to be predestined. Is it time to go to the next place? Lin Feng smiled. Although he had an unpleasant experience in Fengyang Valley, he did not take it to heart. After all, things had come to an end temporarily and did not develop towards the worst outcome. He had not been forced into a corner. He did not want to attack Fengyang Valley. Li Ming. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He was not a man who did not take revenge. He was not a saint. How could he not bear grudges? However, he was not in a hurry to kill him. It was not worth burying the entire Fengyang Valley with him. There were plenty of opportunities. I heard from those disciples that Senior High has already set off for Green Smoke City. Anyway, I have nowhere to go for now. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully, his eyes bright. Let's go to Green Smoke City. There seems to be an elite martial arts competition in 3 days. Li Ming seems to be participating too. Lin Feng pondered in his heart. Logically and emotionally, he should give Senior High an explanation. As for whether he believed it or not, that was another matter altogether. At the very least, he could not break his promise. Let's go. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and a fiery red light flashed. With a light leap, Lin Feng jumped onto the urgent fire shuttle. He turned into a shooting star and sped away. Speaking of which, I have never really been to Douling World since I came, a gathering place for humans. Lin Feng's lips curved into a faint smile. He had an inexplicable anticipation in his heart. What would Green Smoke City be like? Fengyang Valley was gloomy. It was not the number of casualties, but the hearts of the disciples in Fengyang Valley were cold. Lin Feng's strength, Ding Hong's cowardice, and the cowardice of the successor of the sect leader were deeply ingrained in the hearts of all the disciples in Fengyang Valley. It was laughable and lamentable. No one spoke because they did not know what to say. Feeling the complicated gazes of the disciples, Ding Hong's face darkened. He felt like he was being stabbed in the back, but what could he do? Face was given by others, and face was lost by oneself. Who could he blame for humiliating himself before truly understanding Lin Feng's strength? As for the end, Ding Hong sighed softly in his heart, although he did not know if what he did was right or wrong. But at the very least, it was a safe choice. He couldn't afford to lose. Fengyang Valley was his blood, sweat, and tears. It was the greatest achievement in his life. No matter what, he was willing to risk the survival of Fengyang Valley. The price, after all, it was too big. Lin Feng made him feel an extreme sense of danger and fear. That feeling was similar to that of the shaman tribe in the chaotic mountain. Once it erupted, it would be bloodthirsty, cold, and relentless. Unlike now, where he was only injured and embarrassed. What was there to be afraid of? As long as Li Ming could make it into the top 32 of the elite martial arts competition, he would regain all his dignity. Let's go. Ding Hong waved his sleeves and immediately headed towards Feng Yang Hall. The elders and Li Ming followed closely behind. A group of disciples was left in the empty space. They looked at each other and saw sadness and helplessness in each other's eyes. The sect had been trampled on by others. But the sect leader did not even say a word. It was as if he had been slapped in the face and left. The sect was not the only one who had been embarrassed. It was every one of them. In the wilderness. It was a desolate place. The wild grass was filled with tenacious vitality, and there were many tall pine trees around. This place was already far away from Fengyang Valley. There were countless such desolate places in the Douling world. It was just a drop in the ocean. The shaman tribe would not settle down here. In fact, Lin Feng also knew the rule of the shaman tribe settlement, spirit energy. The shaman tribe would only settle down in places with dense spirit energy. And here, not to mention the shaman tribe, even ordinary magical beasts could not be seen. It was a place where birds did not lay eggs. But just nice. Lin Feng smiled. It was exactly what he wanted. He could test out here. The heart of Lich in his chest seemed to be asleep. It absorbed the huge green blood droplet and did not seem to have any reaction. However, it did not matter. He had learned a lot from the battle of obtaining the green blood droplet. Just like the battle at Fengyang Valley, he had also benefited from Ding Hong. Many times, it was often a case of losing on the swings and gaining on the swings. Buzz. The flames of rebirth in his left hand lit up. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. In an instant, he straightened his heart and raised the flames of devouring in his right hand. The two formed a sharp contrast. One was bright and full of vitality, while the other was dark and full of violence. They were two different extremes. However, it was precisely these two extremes that erupted with extraordinary power. Lin Feng remembered the last scene when he obtained the huge green blood droplet. In a situation where he was at his wit's end, he forcefully fused these two extreme flames. In the end, an incomparably terrifying power erupted. Not only did it destroy the remaining statues, but it also injured many of the surrounding Gomong shamans. In fact, even he was seriously injured. What a terrifying power! It's at least twice as strong as the flames of rebirth. Lin Feng's eyes were serious as he nodded. The power of his flames of rebirth was equivalent to a level 4-star sea-state attack. In other words, combining the two flames, it was equivalent to a level 5-star sea-state attack. It was only a level 7-star river state, but it had such an attack power. 1 + 1 is greater than 2. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He knew very well that his flames of devouring were far inferior to the flames of rebirth. However, the combination of the two was equivalent to twice the power of the flames of rebirth. No wonder the phoenix I saw on the Yang Fate Star Plate was a complete fusion of the two flames. Now it's just a normal fusion, and it can already erupt with such power. If it really reaches the realm of complete fusion, what kind of terrifying existence would it be? Lin Feng was shocked. He let out a long sigh and shook his head. It was too early to think about this. To him, mastering the present was the truth. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. The flames of devouring in his right hand suddenly erupted and burned to the maximum. However, the flames of rebirth in his left hand slowly ignited. He tried his best to control the power, maintain the balance between the two sides. It was very difficult. He had to multitask and control the two flames at the same time. The flames of rebirth instantly exploded. Lin Feng let out a long sigh and wiped the sweat on his forehead. Failure. It was more difficult than he had imagined. Again, Lin Feng's eyes were serious. To him, this wasn't an unattainable technique. He just needed to practice a few more times, and he would be able to master it. Soon, after repeated failures, Lin Feng gradually grasped the pattern. He maintained the intensity of the flames of rebirth and sensed the power of the flames of devouring. The two instantly formed a delicate balance. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with a dazzling light. He took a deep breath, and instantly, the two types of flames intertwined with each other, producing a sizzling sound. It was as if the heavenly thunder had struck the earth, and the two sparks collided head-on. Rumble! A shocking explosion. The flames rose violently, like a dragon dancing on the earth. Lin Feng could only feel the flames rising, and his mind went blank. The crazy devouring power even annihilated his body. Lin Feng focused his mind and retreated. His face was filled with fear. The flames of rebirth instantly spread and absorbed the devouring power completely. That was close. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect that when the two flames merged, the flames of devouring would turn hostile. The terrifying devouring power even devoured him without any hesitation. Looking at the bloodstains all over his body, his skin was torn and his flesh was exposed. Especially the wound on his chest. It was even more shocking. It was really terrifying. This is the true combination. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. The flames of devouring's attack power couldn't be compared to the flames of rebirth. The range of the explosion is much smaller. Lin Feng looked around. Compared to the last time, it was less than 10%. Understanding, Lin Feng nodded. This time, he didn't use the flames of rebirth much. It was just an experiment to cater to the flames of devouring. Even so, the power it displayed was still quite terrifying. The range of a few hundred meters was completely affected by the flames. The power of the flames of devouring spread everywhere, devouring everything. Almost 4 times. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. When the flames of rebirth and the flames of devouring had the same amount of energy, the power they displayed was 4 times that of the flames of devouring. In other words, 1 plus 1 equals 4. If the flames of devouring can be cultivated to the same power as the flames of rebirth. Lin Feng was slightly shocked. My power, wouldn't it be able to reach star C state level 6? It was quite shocking. Lin Feng's heart was filled with shock. The combination of these two flames had a huge after effect and could even cause death. But with his body that had fused with the phoenix blood, he could completely withstand it. Just like now, his injured body had already begun to recover. Most importantly, the power of the flames of devouring is far greater than the flames of rebirth. Lin Feng thought to himself. The flames of devouring were completely superior to the flames of rebirth. Moreover, it had the characteristic of devouring, which could perfectly unleash its attack power. As for the flames of rebirth, it was a defensive flame after all. The two had different functions and specializations. The key now is whether I can cultivate the flames of devouring in the extreme road Phoenix realm. Lin Feng's eyes became deep with anticipation, but it was better to act than to be moved. Instantly, young fate astrolabe. Lin Feng closed his eyes. Sensing the phoenix fate astrolabe in his body, his phoenix eyes lit up. In an instant, his head shook. Lin Feng was immersed in a dazzling brilliance. I'm coming. Lin Feng smiled. The scene in front of him was very familiar. It was an extremely huge superfire cave. The surging flames were burning, and the boiling qi was filled with extreme pressure. Although the shocking qi was hidden, it was still shocking. Outside this superfire cave, there were a total of 100 small fire caves surrounding it, forming a unique symbol. This was Extreme Road Phoenix Realm. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 424. The Extreme Road Phoenix Realm was full of mysteries and unknowns. Looking at this superfire cave and feeling the powerful power, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Although he had been cultivating here for a long time, and his rebirth fire had improved tremendously, he felt like he was standing on a small island in the boundless ocean. He couldn't see through the mysteries within it all. With strength and experience, with his current strength, was still too weak. The cultivation of the rebirth fire seems to have reached a bottleneck. The cultivation speed has become extremely slow. The last time it improved, it took nearly 2 months. Lin Feng nodded. He knew very well that the rebirth fire would be harder to cultivate. The next time it improved, even if it didn't stop, it would take at least 3 months. If he could use these 3 months to cultivate the devouring fire, the effect would be extremely shocking. Just like when he first started cultivating the rebirth fire, the cultivation speed was very fast, and there would be a huge increase. Most importantly, as the devouring fire improved, the combined power of the two flames would be even more terrifying. With a 4-fold increase, the attack would be comparable to a level 6-star sea state. And this was just the initial fusion. There must be a technique to the fusion, but I haven't grasped the method yet. If I can truly grasp this technique perfectly, the power of the flame explosion will definitely increase again. Lin Feng thought. He looked at the extreme road Phoenix realm and took a breath. Then he stepped in. Light flashed before his eyes. He was trapped in the endless void. There was chaos in front of him. Endless stars decorated the sky. They were densely packed like a compass. Instantly, a bright fiery red appeared in the sky. The 7-colored light reflected the chaos. That unbelievably huge phoenix appeared again. Its beautiful wings covered its entire body. Its cries shook. Every time it appeared, Lin Feng was even more shocked. The devouring fire and rebirth fire intertwined like close brothers. Phew, so terrifying. Lin Feng's eyes were shining. Before this, he only felt surprised, but now he was deeply shocked. How strong was one's flame control? With this shock in his heart, very soon, Lin Feng entered the familiar passage of flames. The extreme flames burned, and it was filled with a scorching aura. The flame of rebirth in his body had completely condensed. It surged and spread around his body, forming an intense red glow. Slowly, Lin Feng let out a long breath. There were still 2 more passageways left. Without any hesitation, Lin Feng chose one of the paths and stepped in. Every passage represented a different extreme path. The cultivation methods were all different, but there was one thing in common. Both could increase the intensity of the flames. Sizzle, sizzle. Flame spat out like a poisonous snake, as fast as lightning. The intense flames in the surroundings were constantly moving, baking his body. The flame of rebirth appeared at his will, instantly resisting the intense flames. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and the corners of his mouth curled up. So, it's this extreme road. In the Phoenix world of the extreme road that one entered each time was different. For every 10 levels, there were 10 choices, 10 extreme paths. Sometimes, one had to depend on luck to choose which path to enter. After all, he was not the only one cultivating here. The burden of this extreme road is not that great. It's just right to test the cultivation of the devouring fire. Lin Feng thought to himself. The surging flame of rebirth boiled around his body, resisting the flame poisonous snakes that were rushing at him. Lin Feng's body was very calm. The flame poisonous snakes were not moving at a high frequency. With his strength, he could move forward a lot more before reaching his limit. But there was no need for that now. This time, he was not cultivating the flame of rebirth. Let's begin. Lin Feng let out a deep breath. In an instant, he suddenly shouted, and the flame of rebirth poured out from his body. The surrounding flame poisonous snakes were all forced back by 3 feet, forming a vacuum for a short moment. At this moment, Lin Feng's eyes changed greatly. In a short moment, he transformed from a life soul to a human soul. With the change in control of his body, the flame had a fundamental change. The life soul controlled the flame of rebirth, and the human soul controlled the devouring fire. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the devouring fire poured out, and the 5th light spot on the Phoenix natal chart in his body shone. It was the fire natal chart. The source of the flame of rebirth was in the yang natal chart, and the source of the devouring fire was in the fire natal chart. Swoosh! The flame, poisonous snakes that were forced back attacked again in an instant. Like ferocious beasts, they bared their fangs and brandished their claws, wanting to swallow Lin Feng whole. In an instant, the devouring fire devoured them, turning them into bright flames that entered his body and returned to the fire natal chart. In an instant, the second wave of the devouring fire appeared, but it could not escape the misfortune. The rapid consumption of energy brought great pressure to Lin Feng. Every time the devouring fire disappeared, there would be a vacuum gap for a moment. It was because the devouring fire could not be released in time, and during this period, the crazy flames were eating away at his body, bringing him great pain, tearing heart and ripping lung. It was a great test for one's will. But I can bear it. Lin Feng gritted his teeth, his will extremely strong. The devouring fire turned into a wave of light spots that returned to the fire natal chart. It absorbed the energy of the flame, poisonous snakes, and evolved, fusing and evolving again, forming a cycle of flame improvement. In this extreme road that originally cultivated the flame of rebirth, the speed of cultivation was calculated at the speed of lightning. It was not the same at all. Compared to the same level of cultivation with the flame of rebirth, the speed was 10 times faster. Unbelievable! Lin Feng's expression changed, his eyes constantly shining. The fire natal chart was like a high-speed machine, rapidly increasing the purity and power of the devouring fire. Normally, the devouring fire's improvement should be done step by step, but now, the flame of rebirth was increasing at a rapid speed. How could they not be shocked by the extent of this increase? As for the pain he had to endure, so what if it was 10 times more? 30 minutes later, 15 minutes later, 2 hours later, Lin Feng's expression changed, but it was filled with surprise. He had never experienced such a cultivation speed before. Lin Feng was filled with excitement and excitement. The devouring fire that was originally far behind the flame of rebirth, now it was like a galloping horse, rapidly catching up. In just 6 hours, it experienced a total of 9 advancements. 31st step, 32nd step, 33rd step. Although the increase in strength each time was not big, he could completely feel the change in the devouring flames. It was as if he was climbing a staircase. He had already climbed 9 steps out of the 10 steps on this floor, and the 10th step was close at hand. He only needed to take a light step forward. Pa! Lin Feng's eyes instantly lit up. The devouring fire had advanced. It had completely improved. The entire fire natal chart emitted an extremely bright light. It was bright and resplendent. Lin Feng felt a wave of excitement in his heart. Until now, he still could not believe it. It was like a dream. In less than 8 hours, his devouring fire had advanced from the 30th step to the 40th step. It must be a joke, huh? The devouring fire in his hands instantly rose. It was like a ferocious roar of a giant beast. The ferocious flame was filled with strong power. Lin Feng could feel the rapid and terrifying change. From the 30th step to the 40th step, it was like a tiger cub turning into a real tiger. It was completely different. It's getting closer to the flame of rebirth. Lin Feng felt a sense of joy. His devouring fire was originally far away from the flame of rebirth. However, after advancing to the 40th step, it seemed to have become on the same level. Although it was still far away, it could be seen with his eyes. My flame of rebirth is either at the 42nd step or the 52nd step. Lin Feng muttered to himself. Now the devouring fire is at the 40th step. When the devouring fire reaches the 42nd step, it will obviously not be able to catch up with the flame of rebirth. In other words, my flame of rebirth should be at the 52nd step now. It was finally clear. Lin Feng revealed a faint smile. Another question in his heart was answered, and he immediately felt relaxed and happy. Strike while the iron is hot. Again, Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. His cultivation heart was completely stimulated. With such a cultivation speed, he wished he could completely immerse himself in it. Every minute and every second, his strength continued to soar. In an instant, the devouring fire was ignited again. After an entire day of cultivation. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled a long breath, his eyes shining brightly. After the devouring fire reached the 40th step, it climbed another 3 steps and reached the 43rd step. After the 40th step, the speed has completely slowed down. Lin Feng thought to himself, and this was when he was cultivating at a higher level. In other words, the cultivation speed of the flame of rebirth was increasing the devouring fire. If it was calculated according to the normal cultivation speed, it was completely imaginable. Lin Feng smiled slightly, but he was already quite satisfied. In just one day, the devouring fire had risen from the 30th step to the 43rd step. Such a cultivation speed was simply amazing. Inconceivable. As expected, the flame of rebirth should be at the 52nd step. Lin Feng said softly. This time, he was completely sure that the devouring fire that had reached the 43rd step was still quite a distance away from the flame of rebirth. One had to know that in terms of attack power, the devouring fire was completely superior to the flame of rebirth. Of course, this referred to the situation of the same level. From the 40th step to the 43rd step, the improvement was not much. It seemed that after the 50th step, every 10 steps was a true leap in improvement. It's about time. I don't know how long it will take to cultivate. Lin Feng nodded. Every time he cultivated, he would forget the time. Unknowingly, another day had passed just like that, delaying his journey. In 2 days, the elite martial competition will begin. If I miss this time, it will be difficult to meet senior high. Lin Feng thought to himself. Cultivation could be continued at any time. There was no rush. Right now, business was more important. Third update continue. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to Kamichidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.